pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bass music.
Maybe one of these days.
I want to convene as a Walworth County Planning and Zoning Board. Guess we kinda need Jamie here.
What's that?
So we need Jamie. Hmm? Okay.
James not here.
Not yet.
Consider motion to vacate section line.
Jamie has information on that. We might have to table it until he arrives.
What was that?
Jamie, I guess, has information on that, but he's not here yet, so we might have to table it until he gets here.
Greg know anything about it?
They're gone. That's school.
Not much choice.
We'll have to do it when Jamie gets here.
How do you do that and keep your meeting open, because we can't reopen our meeting? I can tell you what it is,
Okay.
but I kinda wanna stay out of the deal. It's my shop has been sitting on this, we had a shop sitting on that section line the last probably 75 years.
Okay.
And it burned down in February, and when I talked to Deb and Greg, they thought I'd be grandfathered in to put it back there, and then we had a resident complain that it was on the section line, so Jamie thought it'd be best just to vacate like 600 foot of that section line. That goes to I got quite a lot of my Krell and other stuff is sitting in the right of way on that too, which been there for, I don't know, since the 20s. We're thinking is when that place was built. But I don't, Jamie I know has some papers drawn up for it, so.
Is he here?
How far off the main road is it?
Pardon?
How far off of main road is it to get to where you're talking?
The shop, you mean? Yes.
300 yards maybe? 200?
Yeah, I would say at least that, yeah.
On the north side?
The road comes west and then it turns and goes south down to the highway or down to the pavement.
Okay,
And it's at least 200 yards, I would guess, but
back to the north there?
to the west.
Yes. Will you go towards his house?
You keep going west instead of going south.
Basically, you're going down his driveway.
You know, you come in my driveway.
You go right down his driveway, and then basically the shop was right in front of it, and then you go right to Jimmy's house. Thanks, guy.
There's no other way to access that, is there?
No.
You
And
can't
you can't,
access it from the south anyway.
no.
I mean, it sounded like Krell was there.
My Krells are there, yeah. Slew was there, my Krells are there. Greg asked him, we found the pin in the middle of the gravel road to the east of my house, and it's right in the center. The pin to the west, on the west, the next section line is under a dam. So you, and that dam has been there since probably the 30s.
You own both the north and the south of that?
Yep. And-
You couldn't drive down any, I mean, it's,
No.
unless they had a saddle horse,
And
so.
if I understand it right, they're just, Greg and Jamie drew that up to vacate just 600 foot of that section line. On the other side, it would still be a section line. They did have Daryl Thompson sign a deal saying he didn't have any problem with it, because if you come back 600 foot from that little corner, part of his trees there in the corner, I'm sure you're familiar with the Scott is in that, so he signed that too.
You're just not gonna go driving down that.
No, I just didn't know where it was at or anything, so.
You've been by my place.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you miss that corner, you run into my shop, my gas barrels, my Krells.
And I know where you're talking now.
I don't know why anybody built a place between three sloughs. Or sloughs on three sides.
Probably grown over the last few years.
Well, the reason they done it, there's some water there. On the other side of the sloughs, there isn't any water, so.
So really it wouldn't affect anybody else,
No.
because you own the north side and the south side.
Yep. Not quite clear to the river. West from there.
So why would you just went to 600 feet, why would you take a quarter
Yeah.
to make it easier?
Well, I wish Jamie was here because he could explain it a lot better.
Why would you go all the way down to the quarter line? Just
Well, one could, but it wouldn't make,
just
really.
to simplify it though.
Jamie's got the papers drawn up for that. When he gets here.
Would it affect anything else going down to the quarter line?
Nope, nope.
Sounds like you go beyond, you drive into a slough.
Yeah, if you go on beyond that, beyond my shop, out of my yard, you run into the slough. You'll stay there.
Just to simplify it in the future, if you'd ever sell it or something, instead of looking for a pin 600 feet out there, you go down to the quarter line.
That would be in a dam. On the next west section line would be in the middle of a dam.
So
So,
that would be better.
I don't know if anybody's gonna find a pin in there, we didn't go look,
No, that'd be better yet, then you wouldn't have to,
you know.
for simplicity, that's the only thing I would say.
Jamie got it drawn up, and here's a map they printed. If anybody wants to look at it, he should be here pretty soon, I would think. We're kinda wasting time, aren't we?
Very good idea.
The yellow square is what I understand it's the 600 feet outside of that, and that's why they had Daryl Thompson sign a letter saying that he didn't have a problem with it.
Actually, that's why.
This would actually be Sitka. Okay, that's what I thought. That is what-
This is where it's like, this is where it's like, right here.
We're gonna do it in zoning, then we're gonna do it again.
Yeah, you guys can make a motion in zoning so we can move on and then discuss it further down in commission.
Right. I'll make a motion. Close,
All the way, or just the 600 feet?
I guess, whatever, we're gonna
Can-
have to vote on
can-
it again anyway.
If we pass this in zoning, we can discuss it again in the commission meeting and then,
Keep on going.
And then approve it if we want to go deeper? Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
You made a motion, Davis.
I did.
Got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Got a second, any more discussion? Hear none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed.
I abstain.
Okay.
Any old business? New business?
Hearing none, I move for adjournment.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second.
Second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Convene as a Walworth County Board of Zoning Adjustment. Is there any old business? New business?
Hearing none, I move for adjournment.
We got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
Second.
A second, any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Next, convene as the Board of County Commissioners. I gotta add one thing to the agenda, I'll need a motion for that. Advertise for bids on the landfill project.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any discussion? Hear none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. I need a motion to approve the agenda. Okay, got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
Second.
A second, any more discussion? Hear none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Public forum.
I don't see anybody on the list.
We can do it right now.
Or we do it after claims.
Yeah.
Need them, everyone had a chance to go over the minutes of August sixth, 2019.
I did not get a copy. I didn't get an email.
The
On the
email went
minute.
out on Thursday with the minutes and the
All I got was
agenda.
the agenda.
It was both attached.
They were both attached.
Yeah,
Not on mine, just the one little circle with just the agenda that was always there.
well, your computer must have kicked it out, because it was the same email.
I don't know.
You got the same one he got.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
Second.
Got a second, any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. So everybody had a chance to go over claims?
Just let everybody know on phase refrigeration was in my file. They did send a detail back on the 3 hours of labor on there, so at least we have that on record of what they actually did. So
I had one question. On courthouse, amended for reimbursement of their deductible, should that come out of weed for emergency manager and disaster instead of,
Well, the problem with that is there's no budget line item for insurance, property insurance in emergency disaster. So we weren't sure where to take it out of actually. Took it out of commissioners, but that's already in the hole. I didn't know where you guys wanted it, so I can create a line item, but there's definitely no budget in there to create it.
I just thought it'd like under like repairs or maintenance or something on there. I was just questioning,
I can switch it to that, if that would be better.
I would think it should come out of her budget someplace, shouldn't it?
I will switch it to EM repairs and maintenance.
The only other question I had would be, Josh, how many people will we send over to the dentist? Are these all one, or are we just taking everybody in the jail over there to get new cavity or do dentures, or?
No, we do not do that kind of work, Kevin. They either get pulled or they get a filling. There's only two procedures that they get if they do go over there. Like I said, the tooth either gets pulled but we do have to get them seen if they continue to.
Is this another reason for them to come to jail, or
Well,
just get their dental work done?
I hope not, but,
Well, between, I know it's not your fault, trust me, I know it's not your fault, but I'm just seeing that between the dental and the pharmacy and the doctors, that's why people are going to jail.
I hope that's not the reason, but I understand what you're saying.
Well, sitting here looking at all this month after month, I mean, it's pretty obvious that if I can't go afford to go to the dentist, where are they getting picked up for to go to jail? So they can go see the doctor and get their prescriptions and get their dental.
Well, obviously various things that they're picked up on, from a disorderly conduct to even worse things, a felony. But it depends on how long they're sitting, or if they've been sentenced, or if they can't post bond, if they sit longer. But if it's a continued issue, and the nurse looks at that, we don't send them on a dime, so I don't want the commission to think that. If it's consistent and it progresses, we gotta take care of them, we have to, otherwise it's a liability, that wonderful L word again. We try to do our due diligence on it, and that, like I said, the nurse also looks at those. Sometimes they're abscessed already, but we don't want any type of infection starting with them or anything like that, it can be a dangerous thing if we let things go, especially if they're sitting in there. But
Looks like there's 5 different ones according to
but
the
maybe we
different
need to
numbers.
talk with our legislators and change some things.
Exactly.
And just so you know, there's a couple more scheduled for later in the week.
It's another deal to get free benefits. It's a benefit to go to jail.
I totally understand what you're saying, Kevin. I'm not gonna dispute what you're saying. But like I said, statute dictates that I have to take care of them, to a minimum standard, and a minimum standard of what any other person sitting in this room would take themselves in and have treatment done. So
I know it's not your fault, I was just
no, I
bringing
understand.
this up as a point.
I understand.
It looks like 5 different ones have gone in there.
It seems like, and this is just, medical's always been there, but it seems like a lot of things get pushed down to the county level. And how do you say that? An unfunded mandate? So, best I can explain it to you, but yeah, we don't send them out at the drop of a hat. We're not doing that. But
I move to approve the claims.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Okay, advertise for landfill bids on that project going on.
This is for the stormwater improvements and slope failure. Looks like, the notice states that we will receive bids until 9 AM local time on September 24th. Bids will be acted upon at a later time. There is detailed specs on the project, but it's 171 pages, if anybody would like to review it.
Why did we push it back to the 24th? Just out of curious.
That's when the engineers thought would be a good time, to give plenty of time for people to submit bids. Or like I said, the specs are 171 pages, so.
I think he got it done when he thought, probably.
Are we still looking at getting it done by the end of the year?
I guess it's gonna depend on what contractors we get and what their availability is.
Was that put in, I didn't see it in here.
Right. I'm not sure, cause he made some changes since the ones that I reviewed, and I just received them this morning, I haven't had a chance to go over them.
We was met with them out there. That's why we was trying to push it as fast as we could to get it done by the end of the year.
Right.
I just curious if that's still got in there.
Well, he's got the deadline of 9 o'clock on the 24th, we're gonna have to meet on the 24th anyways, for the budget, so we could open them at that time.
Any other?
Make a motion to approve the advertising for bids.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. We're back to the motion again.
Skipped it.
Number 18, discussion regarding mowing the county-owned property in Java. I put that on there. Remember we talked about the properties the county owns? Well, I had a guy mow them, he was actually the city guy for Java. He did it on his own. I guess, what do you guys feel to pay him to mow them to?
How long does it usually take you, or would it take?
Well, the one isn't very big, but the other one is fairly good size, and you gotta go with a lot of trees and stuff you gotta go around. I guess my feeling was somewhere around $40–50. I mean, it's, like I said, when I mowed it, it took quite a few hours.
To maintain it, would it take like an hour?
No, it's gonna be
2
more than
hours?
that. I'd say it's gonna be a good 2 hours. Like, that one's a jungle. So that's why I put it on there, I didn't know what you guys thought.
Did he,
If you done it for 50,
Pardon me?
it's a bargain if you done it for 50.
that's what I just want to be, you know.
Well, that's what I asked you guys for, so.
I mean, you're in that business, I mean, to know what it takes.
Maybe you wanna
to
put
mow
in a bid.
Well, hopefully that we don't have to do that, I hope it's all gone. Well, maintain the grass, I mean, but.
Once it was cut initially, just maintain it would go a lot quicker, wouldn't it?
What's that?
Once it was initially cut, and just to maintain it. Davis, what's, pick a number, what do you think it would be worth?
It'd be about, what, $65 to me, hang around that 30, 35. That's what I would.
I say 60, let's have an auction. We'll start off at 60.
takers.
Does that come out of the commissioner's budget then?
Yeah.
That's the way we've been doing it anyway.
Yeah, I would say 50 or 60 is. I wouldn't drive over and do it for that.
There's no doubt the first time it took me a long time.
To make that motion.
We don't really need a motion for $60, do
You might as well.
we? Okay, I'll make a motion for 60.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, need a second.
I'll second that.
A second, any more discussion?
That is per time, not per month, right?
He's not gonna just go mow it, just,
Yeah.
any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay, motion passed. Amanda?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Amanda.
Today, the first thing that I wanted to talk about was my contract with the state between the county and them. It's usually called the SLA grant, state and local agreement, but they have now switched it to be called the LEMPG, which stands for the Local Emergency Management Performance Grant. They felt that they needed to change the name to reflect the lineage of where the actual grant comes from, which is the Federal Emergency Management Program grant. So what this does is provides a work plan for me to follow throughout the year. It just kind of is an agreement of activities and accomplishments that need to be reached throughout the year in order to receive the funding that we receive from this grant. This grant is 50% of salary and benefits and travel expenses to like trainings and things like that. And so it's just that time of year to decide if you guys wanna, continue on with that program or get out. They do this every year to all 66 counties and tribes, so. I just received a letter from the Office of Emergency Management just for the first 2 quarters of this year. And the state or the grantor estimated $27,024.36, which is equally matched by the county, bringing the grant total to $54,048.72. So, just bringing that up, if you guys wanna make a motion to approve it, to stay in it, or if you have any questions.
I'll take a motion for that.
Nice one.
You got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second it.
A second, any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay, motion passed.
The second item is going to be, referencing the EM Dodge Dakota pickup. It was a total loss in the last hailstorm, that we were involved in. I do have a quote from the insurance company on, the amount that it would take to repair it. And the amount if we just want them to total it and take it kind of thing. I don't know if you want me to pass it around, you can look at it. There is this quote too from Valley Motors, for repairs, that need to be made, on it, cause it's getting to the point where it's probably not safe to drive underneath. You guys have the one for claims in your files. The one that we don't have is the Valley.
guess depending on what you guys wanna do, I have been looking at the federal surplus, for SUVs that are out there. I contacted them on a few that I have, in this little packet. Just to kinda see and make sure that they're mechanically sound and everything, but, you know, it just kinda gives the prices of what's out there on that option. I kinda had picked out, like the Ford,
We retained the vehicle.
yeah, there's a Ford Expedition,
8,300.
there's a Ford Escape,
1,200 at least.
and a Chevy Tahoe.
And then still
I just
fix
kinda
it.
was looking at price compared to miles, just because we put a lot of miles on. The Chevy Tahoe gets a little bit more up there as far as price wise, but the miles are only 20,000 on it. So I called them on that just to ask them a little bit about why is it that old and only has that many miles, and they just said that the department that it was used for just didn't use it that often, and so there's not that many on there. But
I would suggest keeping that and spend the $1,200 to get the front end repaired and give it to Dave for his mosquito spraying and travel and get Amanda an SUV.
Would still take a little more than that too, wouldn't it, cause the taillights are broke too, aren't they, and stuff like that.
yeah,
So some of that stuff will have to
It'd
be.
still be $6,000 in our pocket
yeah,
that we
Well,
could
we
put.
would still get 8,100
I,
yeah, we would get
8,300.
8,300,
83
so,
minus the 12, we're looking at 7,100.
and then maybe another 500 for lights or whatever else is bad on it, so,
right.
you know, so. we
And there
down.
will be an expense to move the radio from the Dodge to whatever other vehicle. I talked to Kurt and he was gonna get me a quote, but hasn't yet. I don't know if you have you have any kind of estimate on what it would be like 500 and something to move radios out of vehicles? Cause we have the hookups and everything, it's not like we'd have to be buying the equipment, it would just be the transfer from vehicle.
250 and 300.
We'll have that no matter what.
Yeah, so it was just, that's gonna be the only thing that's gonna.
I agree with you entirely, except for the only thing is I wouldn't get it strictly to Dave, I would just use it as a county vehicle that
Yeah,
anybody could use, as long as it's in the performance.
cause I don't know, well, I assume Dave probably takes it home when he's done weed spraying in the casket, I assume, but I think Amanda needs one access to one 24/7. You know, we discussed that.
And I do
Remember
know that,
before we hired Amanda, we should not be sending our emergency manager out in their own vehicle.
Okay, let's get back to discussing what we wanna do with that vehicle.
You can make that into a motion.
I would make that into a motion that we keep it and repair it for an extra, how would you word it, an extra county vehicle?
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Got a second, any more discussion on that? So that's what it would be, kinda just a floater then, where needed.
I would think, you know, if the hail damage doesn't bother running down the road, so if Dave wants to take it like to the weed convention, or, yeah, the weed convention deal here, or whatever that'd be, that kind of stuff. Spraying and
and I know Dave up here too, especially, he uses it sometimes to go and run and get things, you know, and supplies that he needs to sometimes, and he's borrowed it for that too, so.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay, motion passed.
Oh, sure.
Okay, Amanda, you got this list here, is there something that really stands out?
I
Are you
kinda put
still
the top,
looking, or what?
I kinda put the top three that caught my eye, I guess, for miles and price, attached on there. So, until I go and physically see them, I don't know, but I can. The one that,
Yes.
We're also gonna be purchasing a pickup for the landfill yet this year, so if you're gonna go look at some, if you wanna let me know, so I can go with it. So we can just do it at the same time instead of separate trips.
the one that kinda stood out, I guess, is the Chevy Tahoe. It's the little more expensive one of all of them, but it has 20,000 miles on it, it has really low miles. But I'm just kinda discussing it, I guess. I don't know what way, you guys also want me to go too. I mean, I can go a little bit on the, the cheaper ones too. But then we're gaining, about 50,000 miles on them too, so for long-term wise,
What's the commission feel?
Would you be all right if we put it as a budget item for January? So we wouldn't have to supplement it this year?
so keep the EM pick the way it is right now with all the radios and stuff and be able to
And then switch everything out in
switch
January?
everything out in January. The only thing is that I think if we wait till January too, I think these probably will be all gone and then, I mean, there might be more,
This
but
time of year, as long as you tell them that you're gonna get
Get it.
it, they will hold it.
okay.
We got a new pickup for Wheat and Best that's been on hold for
Okay.
months already, so.
Yeah, if they're willing to do that, we can definitely just put it into the budget for next year, so we don't have to supplement.
That way, you don't have to supplement it and come January, you can switch everything out.
Will that work for you to go down and look too for your,
Yeah, I've got funds in this year's that I need to purchase a pickup on.
oh,
But if you could get one so you could get it in the budget for next year. Check availability on those three and let us know.
they're all available, I checked with them yesterday, actually, around 4 o'clock, and they're all available, so he said just whatever, and I told him I had the meeting today, and he goes, well, whatever you guys decide, just let me know, and I'll make sure it's,
Where are those located?
these are gonna be in box elder.
Just looking at the list of all of those, I mean, I know that 40,000 miles is, you're probably gonna put a lot of miles on, but any more vehicles, it seems like it's 60,000 miles, still low miles. I guess I would like to see us go maybe towards that Ford Expedition with the 60,000 miles. I think that was the second one you did in there.
Yep, that was the 61,000.
For like, was it 16, 14,000?
14,900.
14.
We've been,
Save 4,000.
yeah. But I don't know if that's what everybody else thinks or what their wishes are. To me, it seems like for those miles different. It isn't,
How many miles a year do you think you put on? You wouldn't put
I'm gonna put on a ton,
12,000?
probably, I was thinking 10 to 12, yeah.
I just think wait until the first of the year is a long time to wait without a vehicle for her.
Well, she'd still have,
Maybe
she'd still have the other one.
Repair it right away and
We'll just repair it right away. And it's still, that one's still drivable.
yeah.
Just put it in the budget and she can get it ordered, just like we did with the weed pickup. We don't have it yet, we got it on order and they're holding it till January. I mean, it comes out of next year's budget instead of trying to supplement this year's budget.
Well, I would say look at them and see if that's what he even want.
Okay.
Becky. All right, anything else?
I did just wanna bring up, that I got an email this morning, that South Dakota is entering their fourth, PDA, preliminary damage assessment from the storms that happened between 8/2 and 8/11. The deadline to get these in, is gonna be this Friday, 8/23. What this, covers is debris removal, roads, culverts, bridges, rural electric companies, things that we've already been through with the last couple of disasters that we entered. There was enough disasters throughout the state that they felt it necessary to open it up again to just see what kind of damage is out there, to see if there's enough to declare another disaster. A lot of the stuff that we experienced in Walworth County, I think was a lot of individual, such as Java and all their, houses and things like that, hit. So, we went through and did all that, and I'll submit that along with, all the information that they need. They actually have it already. I'm gonna speak with Gary just to see if there's any roads or culverts or anything that got affected through this last rain, and then go from there. So that might be coming down the pipe here a little bit, just to see if there's enough in our county again to meet that $20,000 threshold again. So yeah, our county's been hit hard a couple of times, so that just came up. And then also, last Wednesday, on the 14th, I had my, full-scale exercise. We're required by this SLA agreement, to do one a year, one full-scale exercise a year. I think it was really successful. We had about 9 different agencies, from all over, whether it was Campbell, Potter, McPherson, Walworth. We had agencies like Mulbridge PD, Mulbridge Ambulance, Selby Fire, Mulbridge Fire. Anyway, we had about 10 actors spread throughout the school because we did an active shooter situation. In total, we had 56 people cooperate and participate in this drill. So it was a really successful. I've been hearing really good things about it. I think it opened the eyes to a lot of agencies that maybe had never been exposed to a training or a situation. So I think it raised a lot of questions, and it was a good training. So that was the latest thing, besides storms and disasters. So, but yeah, that's all I have.
Yes.
Just one question regarding the emergency management. You sent out a deal here a week ago with the deadlines on some of the stuff that's coming up from spring storms. Can you explain some of that? Is that something that we need to be kind of heading off here, or?
So what's going on now is we're in the process waiting kind of on FEMA. We did have a FEMA rep from the internal affairs of FEMA, not the actual ones that come out and do the assessments, just to kind of make sure that they know who to contact and who to call and who's kind of in charge of all these areas. The next step that is gonna happen is we went to an application briefing, and they gave us a thumb drive. And if there's any work that's being done, we're supposed to be monitoring that and keeping track of, man hours, supplies, fuel, things that went into those sites if they're FEMA sites, and making sure that we have that all documented. And the highway department is doing that and keeping it all organized. And then what they do is they actually enter it into what they call grants portal system, so that FEMA can see it directly. Even if a FEMA agent gets pulled off of this site and another one comes in, and there's no shuffling paper around, everybody's on the same page. So we're in that process. We're not up against any deadlines yet because we actually haven't had our scoping call yet and our meeting with FEMA. Once though that scoping call happens and FEMA sets up a meeting to come and actually kind of put some boots on the ground, we have 60 days the clock starts to actually get all of our information that we've done on these sites, and also sites that haven't been touched, just what is all involved in them, into this one document form. So the highway department has started doing that on things that they've started working on. They're entering in, tomorrow we're working on getting it all, latitude and longitude of all these sites exactly, so we can enter them into the system so we're ahead of the game once that 60 days starts. And then after that 60 days, it goes on to FEMA and they start really looking at things, and then they'll start sending people out and looking. So, so we're not under any kind of strict deadline right at the moment. The clock hasn't started.
I just thought when I read that thing, it looked like we were actually on a deadline where if we didn't have the stuff done by a certain date, and I don't remember the dates, but we were gonna get 100% paid if it was
Okay,
up to
so that you're talking about the federal aid roads, that I think is what Corinne was just,
Okay.
was that what, okay,
Yeah, that's-
so because, I'm just kind of the screen just had showed that to me yesterday. And that is under a deadline, on that side of it, and that's federal aid, that doesn't, I
Okay.
don't deal with that.
Alright,
But I told her to call the gentleman that was attached to that email, because he's pretty knowledgeable. But we had about 3 federal aid sites in Walworth County that qualified, because it has to meet a $5,000 threshold, and that's what we went around and did that one day. And so I said, you know, just to kind of keep up on that and keep in communication with him, so that we can get all the stuff that's been worked on and everything. Otherwise, it drops down to, I think, what was it, like 81%?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what is that, do we know if those sites that were qualified, were they taken care of, or?
I don't think they've worked on all of them yet.
I don't think so, no. No, I don't think, because there's a culvert and then there was a low-lying area that kept going underwater. And I think that was just gonna be gravel hauled in. So I think these sites probably haven't been touched yet, but, that definitely may be a Gary question. But, yep, I think, I told her to call that Shane that was on there just to get a briefing, just to show how to do that side of it, because I don't deal with that, so. Yep,
Kevin, you have some?
Kinda answered it, I was just gonna see how we ended up when FEMA rep was out here.
so yep, it was just the only FEMA rep that's been out here has been the internal affair, and she was just it was a quick meeting just to stop by and give us a folder, kinda to show us all of our avenues of contact if we have questions and things. And then to also know who she's gonna be contacting, whether it's a chairman or a mayor, or, you know, and then from that point on, she'll submit it, and then when the, actual public assessment comes in, they'll know who to talk to and contact, so.
Okay.
that-
Yes.
Are these, is the highway one and the landfill one, are they gonna be entirely separate, or is it the county?
So, there are 2 different periods, and so, they did join the disaster together, but I think as far as the, entering the information in, you have to enter it in on your own, because they're your own entities. So all that, grant portal system and stuff like that is gonna be yours, and then they'll do their own grant portal system.
Okay.
But they are recognized under a county, like when they talk in general, every time I've talked to them, they'll say like the county of Walworth, and I said, okay, just making sure that includes the highway and the landfill, and they say, yep, we have both here. Just file paperwork wise, I think they're kinda separate on their own entity, so.
Alrighty, anybody else have anything else?
Thank you, man.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Number 17, consider motion to vacate section line. I need a motion for that.
I'm gonna abstain.
I will make a motion to vacate the section line all the way back to the main section, intersection there, not just the 600 foot, but move it all the way back to clean it up, so that whole section line is vacated from the main road to the section line to the west. Because it'd be a whole mile, right, Jim?
Half mile. Well, it would be less than that,
Or is that a quarter mile? No, it'd be a half mile, wouldn't
yeah. But he,
Back it all way.
he wasn't vacated from the corner, it would be a half mile, be from the quarter line all the way, and see,
Okay.
that was not in the original plan to walk that far.
it? And the reason for that is just to simplify it.
No dead end.
If, that way, if you ever sell it, to simplify everything.
So you got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second that.
Got a second. Any more discussion now? Hear none, all in favor say aye.
Alright,
Opposed say nay. Motion
I
passed.
abstain. Thank you, guys.
Nyla.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll have a copy of my report.
Any questions, let me know.
I move for approval.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
A second.
Second, any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Motion passed.
Thank you. I also want to mention that we are probably going to take the tax deeds of property down in Lowry in September, middle of September, in the city meeting.
All right,
Give you a heads up. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Nyla.
Josh?
What actually constitutes an arrest? Is it a traffic stop, a
Yeah.
traffic citation and arrest? or-
Yep. It's an actual summons, you pay a fine, and you're given an optional court date for that. So yes, that's included in that.
So all the rest are not going to jail.
Correct. You guys got these estimates, I sent them out by email. Scott, did you get? One's for the Dodge Dakota, but you guys have that one ready. The individual just sent it to me because I had 2 claims of my own, so that's why I had it under mine. So the Dodge Dakota's already covered because I supplied her the same information.
Guess order the employees paying for meals. Is 43 part of this meal too, or that one too? Or is that on top of the other one too?
Gonna be on top.
Josh, we've got it over there, and everybody's got copies of it, maybe.
Oh, okay.
How much do we make on a phone call?
For some of the cards you're talking?
For a phone call, how much are we making off of each phone call?
$5 to $10, 65 cents. So there, depends on the number that gets sold, we get a percentage of it, I think it's 25%. I don't remember off the top of my head, I have to look again.
Is it, kind of, each phone call, is that a time limit on that, or is that per call?
No, that's, they're calling cards that they get, that they buy from,
How many calls can they make off of one card?
I think the $10 card is like 40 minutes.
So it's by minutes.
Yeah, it's by minutes.
So we don't know what we're making per,
They're essentially buying a phone card
Yeah.
for some event.
so these phone calls are actually phone cards.
These phone calls are just phone calls that the jail, you can
Oh, these are,
Yeah, they're not the cards or, yeah, they're just
Yeah,
phone calls.
I thought that's what these was.
No, that's just phone calls.
Okay.
If you don't want that, I'll just leave it on. Oh, yeah, it's just phone calls. Phone cards, we don't even sell them anymore personally. They kind of buy them up at Tiger's Neck Commissary website that we have, so we still get a portion of that revenue. But we just don't deal with them anymore. They just get them off the website.
So it's through our contract commissary, they added the phone cards for us, so we're not dealing with any of the money over there.
Good.
The claims I sent out via email to you, one was a car deer, hit, for the Tahoe, which we, check has been
Received.
check was received already, okay. For approximately $1,140.50, according to the estimate that was from the claims. And the 2016 Silverado, my deputy's, the pickup, excuse me, that came back with an amount of $16,291.12 for damage on it. Travis was on call out in that storm and got hit by the hail, so it's all hail damage. The hail was big enough, it punctured holes, and it's got a hard tonneau cover. It put holes right in it. The pickup looks like a golf ball. As far as equipment, the emergency lighting, there was some tail light damage. Other than that, the emergency lighting, that sustained the hail. We tested it out, and we tested it out with the claims adjuster to make sure everything was functioning correctly the way it's supposed to. Otherwise, that would have been included on the claims. But that was functional, so this is all hail damage. And he was gonna send out a separate check for that also, in that amount. That was not the pickup was not totaled, not like the Dakota was. It's got 72,000 miles on it. So, like I said, it's all, you'd have to replace hood, quarter panels, and yeah.
What is your intentions to do with it? Just leave it as is?
Well, here's the thing, I mean, the check is here, we need to decide what we wanna do with it. I mean, are we gonna fix that and put those dollars into it to fix it? It's still a usable vehicle, it's just got all the damage. Would you rather see that money put back into it and still utilize the pickup?
The hail damage really isn't going to, it's all cosmetic, right? It's not affecting the way you can run.
It did take the windshield out too, out to give repaired.
Right.
But other than that.
That and taillights, I'm guessing, that stuff has to be replaced, but as far as the rest of the vehicle,
Does look like it went through a hailstorm, it's not the prettiest looking.
you were just thinking just driving it, just having it that way, correct, or what? That's what I was asking you.
I misunderstood the question. I guess I thought we were gonna put the money back into it and fix it, but
I don't,
that was my understanding, is use that 16 and fix what we can on it and fix it to the best that we can. It doesn't look good. I mean, obviously, the presentation of the sheriff's office out there and driving a vehicle like that, I mean, it's,
yes, Jim?
Would that be something we would wanna replace and give that vehicle to the landfill? I don't know the hail damage would be as bad at the landfill as would be our sheriff's vehicle driving around. Becky
Have
probably
you
doesn't
seen
do-
my pickups out there?
What's that?
Have you seen the pickups out there?
No.
They are ugly. They're in tough shape, really tough shape.
But
I think I'm almost gonna kind of agree with Jim.
you know, hail damage, and I don't know what you guys use pickups for out there, but that wouldn't hurt your, and hail damage wouldn't hurt your running around the landfill.
It'll probably look better than what we have out there anyway.
So I just wonder if that's what we should be thinking, replacing this in the sheriff's office and give this pickup to the,
Did they give you kind of a value of that pickup? What it would be, like?
See it.
I don't see it on here, but, I mean, I know it goes by mileage in a year, it's a 16. It's got 70, at the time of the accident, 73,000 miles on it. I don't know, I kinda asked him, but I really don't.
He said in 20 somewhere, he never really said a definite number.
Have you replaced the windshield or anything yet?
No, because we haven't done a thing, I wanted to wait until the board meeting, and he was just here last week, which I was happy that he came out that fast once we did the claims. I actually submitted, the weekend prior to the, I submitted the two, actually Amanda submitted hers and then I submitted mine, and, he was able to look at all three, but that Tahoe he had with the car with the deer was the weekend prior to him, so I quick slipped that in on Monday and he looked at all of them when he showed up, so.
When was the accident with the Tahoe?
Down on 83.
Saturday night?
Yeah, down on Highway 83.
Josh, when would you normally consider replacing this pickup if it didn't have any damage, like next year?
I'd have to look at the mileage and what the miles are being put on it. I'd have to average the mileage out to actually tell you that. Usually, it depends on how they're running. I mean, we drive them pretty hard, so.
I would guess you'd pretty much say Josh put, that Travis put probably about 36,000 miles on it, maybe a year, that'd be at the high end.
Yeah.
And have roughly around 100,000 next year.
So that's about when you wanna trade it anyway, wouldn't it be?
Yes. Roughly.
So in my mind, I think that would be the way you would do, just replace it and give this to the.
But like I said, I don't know what itemized list they go by to determination on whether, obviously, the year and the dollar amount, what we paid for the Dodge Dakota and the year on it, and the mileage on it, they used a conglomerate of different things, but the actual damage of all it did, what the vehicle is actually worth, is what happened with that one.
I just sent him an email and hoping he'll get a response soon.
So we just didn't quite hit that threshold with this.
What,
I got it totaled.
is Travis driving it at all right now? Is he driving the car?
He's in a car right now.
I mean, because regardless, I mean, the windshield's gotta be fixed, I mean, but, to me, I think a guy should do a little checking before we get that much money into that pickup when there's actually places that it could go where doesn't have to look the world's greatest, I guess that's my opinion. What do the rest of you feel? I mean, Jim does.
Yeah, I would suggest we give it to landfill and replace it. Fix what needs to be, you know, definitely the windshield and tail lights and that kind of stuff, but when you start talking about taking the dents out of them outfits, that's quite a chore.
There is, well, we held off on, to find out what the adjuster had. Justin just pointed out to me that I just about forgot. Did forget. There is about $1,800 worth of repairs that need to be done to the radiator and some other
Because of
stuff on
this?
it. No, this was prior. So just keep that in mind also.
Which the Chevy dealer has the parts already. They ordered them in, and the hailstorm happened, so we held off to figure out what's going on.
Because if they were gonna total it, it didn't make much sense to fix, you know, put that other $1,500 to $2,000 on.
Okay, so you just sent me the value of it. You said near $26,000. Equipment removal install is also considered, and that usually adds another $3,000 to $5,000
So what did we get for it?
16,000.
to fix it.
Yep.
It's worth 26.
And it's worth 26.
If that includes the equipment and so on, removal or whatever.
No, it's near 26,000. Equipment removal install is also considered, and that usually adds another 3 to 5.
Oh, adds, okay.
Yeah. And he's basing that on clean retail.
In my opinion, I think we should start looking. I don't think that we wanna stick that much money back into that.
I wouldn't think so, especially if we're gonna look at trading it off next year. Probably for the 2021 budget would be,
I think we should, you know, at least get the needed repairs, and depending on what you guys think needs to be done. Because if it does go to landfill for purposes out there, we're gonna still need to fix that radiator issue and the tail lights and put a windshield in for bare minimum.
I guess my opinion, you should kind of look like we did last time when we bought that, and then bring something to the next meeting, we'll figure it out. I think they're right at this point. We
I
should-
would guess we just will get the repairs done anyway. The windshield, tail lights, and
If that's your guys' intentions, we can still get those few items fixed. And then go from there.
You know, roughly when we got that, it was 53 grand. Four,
We're close to that.
Yeah.
just so you know.
Is that what the commission feels? Yes.
I just have a question. If we're gonna get these repairs done, when we go to pay the claim, where should we pay it out of? Should we pay it out of landfill, or should we pay it out of sheriff, or what are we doing?
if we fix that radiator and stuff, would you run it then until you got a different vehicle? Or would you have another vehicle found before you get all that stuff fixed?
Interesting question.
Don't you think you would want to
Well,
get
the-
that fixed in case you need it? I think that's what you would want to
Yes.
do.
I mean, yes, I think we would still utilize it. Like I said, we'd have to fix those other, not minute things, but the 3 or 4 things. Like I said, tail light, side mirrors, and one side mirror, I believe, and then the windshield for right now.
It,
And then,
as I recall, it took quite a while to get that. Once you speak for one of them, it isn't here like next week, is it?
No.
I think it come out of Texas or something, wasn't it?
no, it did, and, you know, when I ran the numbers, that was the least expensive to do, and they put all the equipment in for me, and it came to us like that. I even sent the graphics down and they put it on for me, so I didn't have to take it anywhere once they got the pickup. We took it off the trailer and started using it. So,
Well, regardless, I mean, there's stuff that had to be done to that pickup that was in the sheriff's jail. So that was gonna come out of yours anyhow.
so I think what would happen would be, you know, the windshield, obviously the non-damage disclosure amount. And the previous maintenance bill, we would just fix that and do what we can with it.
Right. Yes.
The landfill's an entirely different entity that's not run on tax dollars, so that we would have to purchase the vehicle from the county in some way.
Well, then we should pay for the repairs out of the sheriff's budget and at that time sell it to the landfill.
I think that's how it should be.
Well, you got 5 vehicles,
So,
right now you got 5 vehicles anyway for 3 people.
and one's
basically.
going, and other one's going away.
So I'm saying right now, you got 5 vehicles, so if one's in the shop, you still have the spare right now anyway, wouldn't you?
Yes, because I've had to use it myself for repairs being down on it. So I mean, it's used as a floater also. It's equipped the same. It's got the highest mileage, but yes, I'm using it in that fashion.
So if we got pickup fixed, even if it takes 2 months to get everything fixed, you'd still be all right for a while.
Yeah.
Or just fix whatever's necessary to be
Yeah.
fixed.
What was that, Scott?
Just fix the necessary things right
Yeah.
now. Anything else on that?
Gosh, where is the pickup now?
Sitting in Travis' truck. Find out what the segments were.
Just there,
You wanna continue on, Justin?
I can. Got time to shoot, I don't know, we have much stuff left. Presentation, I'll do that now.
Yeah, we can. Wait, take a 5-minute break so we get set up.
That's fine. We'll take a 5-minute break then, get that ready.
My daughter put this together, so she's a whole lot better on the computer than I am, of course, but basically, slides are gonna show here, we got the history of the Walworth County Jail. It's currently, or the old original part of the jail was built in 1903. In 1999, there was an addition built. I don't know why this got changed back, but that was switched, I had that changed in 99. There was an addition built in 1999. And right now, in our current condition of the facility, you have the addition and the old facility that's connected. Our current condition on the 1999 facility is, we've got cracks and stuff that are going on that, I believe it's the southeast corner. I don't know if that, you can see that crack there on that, by that window.
This crack right here and the separation of this one over here, this whole corner has sunken down.
And that's where our problems are coming inside the newer addition on the current facility. We, as a commission, we've been going through this, and I've been on the commission now for a little over a year and a half, and this has been going on for over 5 years, but the decision was made last fall, if you remember, that we went through a proposal to take you to a vote of the county, and there's a 70-bed facility that we put a bond issue out, and that was overwhelmingly voted down by the county. The other option that we talked about is possibly building a smaller jail just to basically accommodate our own inmates. Maybe even remodel the current jail that we have, and or close the jail and transport our inmates out to other facilities like most other counties are doing. Our proposal at Walworth County basically is looking at the idea of spending up to $6 million, one, to build a new 40-bed facility, or remodel the current existing jail, knowing that if we remodel the existing jail, we probably wouldn't be spending that kind of money. But if we were to take the $6 million and finance that over a 30-year financing at 5% interest, our payment would be basically $32,209.30 a month, which equates out to $386,511.60 per year. What we would like to do is go to 6 counties and propose to them the idea of each one of those counties to put $50,000 a year towards the Walworth County Jail up front every year. 30 of that would go to the brick and mortar, 20,000 would go to the actual operation costs. What that gives them is that guarantees them bed space. They would be guaranteed 210 days served out of that $20,000 of operational cost. They also are guaranteed, if they go over that 210 days served, they're guaranteed additional bed space at $95 a day. Other counties that don't want to participate in this, we decided that this is what it's going to cost them. If they want to bring their inmates here, they're not going to put any money up front. It's going to cost them $175 a day. Kind of gives you a breakdown here. Each county is given $50,000, and it kind of shows you the $30,000 at 6 counties, give you $180,000. That's going to go towards the building payment. $20,000 would be the operational cost, which would be at 6 counties be $120,000. If we take in U.S. Marshals and have average 10 inmates per day at $97 a day, it equates out there basically at 365 days a year, give us $354,050 worth of cash for operational costs. Look at the bottom there, you see the total operational costs with the counties, U.S. Marshals, and then the average, what we figured as out-of-county overage if they go over their 210 days served. We would end up with about $53,770 of extra cash there, giving us a total operation cost of $527,820 towards our operational cost on our jail operation of $1.1 or $1.2 million budget. This kind of gives you a graph showing right now Walworth County basically has about a third, what we would figure about 11 inmates average per day. We would average right at about a third of the occupancy within the jail, but yet we're taking on almost a little over half of the payment. So you see on the payment structure there, the building payment, $180,000, that's coming from those 6 counties. The balance of that payment would be coming from Walworth County of $206,511.60. Over on the right-hand side, the operational costs, you see the $120,000, that's the 6 counties that are guaranteeing us $20,000 each. That payment from the U.S. Marshals of 10 inmates, and then an overage. So that's where you get your $1.1 million of operational costs. Walworth County would pick up the balance of $579,480 or $480.
So we basically would use a third of it, but we would have a half of the cost into it.
Right. So if there's, I mean, this is, I guess the idea behind this is trying to throw a little bit of a bone out there to these other counties to show that, hey, we're not just trying to get you guys in here to cover the costs of this thing. We're taking the majority of the blow as far as an operational cost and also the payment on this building. But it shows them that here's how we can make this work. If you look at the building payment and the operational costs at the total, we're looking at roughly $786,000 in there. This is why we feel that if we did this, knowing that if we were to close the jail down and transport our inmates, remember we had that contract where we could have transported them for a little over the total cost and everything. We figured we could do it for all of around 500 and some thousand, 571,000 I think it was. So with the transportation cost and everything else, this is kind of where we felt that this looks like we're still staying in that range of costs that we would be basically if we were to transport. So cost to the county wouldn't be a whole lot of difference in dollars. I guess, and then that's, any other questions or anybody else have any questions or comments on that?
What are your plans? Are you to go
Again,
to
this-
county?
Again, this is a plan, thanks Gary, a plan to go meet individually with each county and present this to them and let them make the decision on what they want to do. If they want to partake in this and sign a contract with us, to me this is feasible. We sat down, ran the other numbers with the two commissioners, jail administrator, with numbers that the jail administrator shared. This is the most feasible, but it is bringing the costs down quite a bit. And obviously, we'd like to cushion that the best we can. And Commissioner Hogard and Commissioner Schlomer are on board as far as discussions, as far as that needs to happen, and the only way we're going to do that is with revenue. So
I guess our question to you three is, do you agree with the presentation and to take this to the other 6 counties? Or is there anything else you would like to see happen with that?
I guess I don't see a problem with it. You gotta start somewhere.
That would, in my mind, that would start the talk. We gotta, like Scott said, we gotta start someplace. See if there's any interest at all with that.
we thought it best to approach them all individually instead of having one big meeting to try and, I mean, if you go and meet with each board, you have better attendance. I mean, to try and advertise a special meeting and then have a group meeting and pick a location.
I guess how I look at it too is with them numbers, they might look bad to another county, but if you sit there and think about it, if you're gonna build a jail, go out and build it for them number, that money you're gonna be giving to Walworth County. You wouldn't get much more than a doghouse built, but.
You know, hindsight being 20/20, if that were me, that would be a good option for me to secure beds. And I would look at that very, very hard. And that's the issue right now, is securing beds for everybody, so.
The only thing that we don't have in there that I think we should put in there is how many years contract are we gonna have for this? So they don't say, yeah, I'll try it the first year, and then all of a sudden we build it and we're stuck. We need to set a time limit of how long the contract is gonna be, so we're not out all this money and in 2 years they can get out. But on the other hand, in 2 years, they're up to the $175 if they're out.
I would think you'd wanna have at least a 3-year contract in there or something like that. I guess
I'd say
that's where I was
at least
at.
5.
I was gonna say
3 to 5.
five,
I would,
30 years.
'Cause I think I did my, if you guys remember right, I think I did 7, 10, 15, and 20 on that particular plan using those numbers.
Even if you go 5, if you're in there for 5 years, you aren't gonna back out anymore. You already got enough into it already.
That's what I think. If we're gonna do that with these other counties and they are gonna commit, to me, committing to a 5-year deal is probably not any different than committing to a 3-year deal. I mean, I would think that once they're into it at 5 years, they don't wanna get out of it. They've got enough money invested into it now.
costs are gonna go up.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too.
But then it's renegotiated, it's gonna have to be renegotiated depending on the numbers every year too.
Well, that gets done every year, so I guess that wouldn't be nothing new. I mean, we do that every year.
That would be looked at every year, and then also, you know, at the maturity of the contract, you're gonna look at that again, because you're gonna wanna keep some maintenance dollars there. It may come down, it may not change. I don't know what that number is, but, you know, that's looking out at that 15, 20 years if they keep paying on it, because essentially in 20 years, I'm hoping this should be paid off. That 5.8 to $6 million facility that we were talking. And
That's
it's
my
more of a
opinion.
comfortable number. I mean, we've talked about comfortable number to the commission, comfortable number to the public. It was, you know, I think there's a little bit of, and this doesn't have to do with this, it's that we're going to approach these counties to get, you know, trying to secure those dollars and bring them on board. But I think the majority of the thing, what I heard is that's too big, you know, that 70 bed. If you would have brought a smaller facility and da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, so I mean, there's different things, but that's the biggest thing that I heard after that failed. So I think we're in that ballpark, and I think we need to try and run it.
Well, that's what I think, so. All right, good job.
I really had nothing to do with it. I get that button up and down.
Okay.
And by the way, Christine has put a lot of work into the department.
And thank her for me for her time, Marion.
I'll end up paying for it.
Hey, Josh, you got one more thing? You want to go back to that?
Yeah, I think we skipped over, but that's fine. I had to walk out and take a phone call. I just wanted to cover some budget stuff before everything's finalized. I sent out an email, and shared that number with you, because of some cost of equipment. Kevin, I had to, I think I said 55 or 56, but with the 2 pieces of equipment, that it puts it closer to that 61,000 on the vehicle. That's a totally equipped vehicle coming to me. So, and then the other thing that I put in there, that was off your recommendation. Did you see the email and the agenda? Okay. The 25% thing, I did talk briefly with the state attorney and the auditor on it, but I wanted to put it in there as an option. It was brought up, 25% of the jail administrator, because he does do some functions in the sheriff's office, but I stuck with 25% because it is minimal. He does a lot of things, but his office is in my office because there's not room over there. In the control room, there's not really a spot for him. So he does a lot of his functions out of my office anyway. But he does do some sheriff's office stuff for me. Other than that, you know, and that's just a dollar transfer. I'm not asking to increase that, and it's basically taking it's roughly roughly $10,562.24 that would move over from jail line item salaries to sheriff line item salaries of 25%. Okay, does that make sense? So it's just a flip-flop of numbers. It's two separate budgets, but I need a separate one for the jail. But if we do that, that's gotta be approved by you guys. And I did bring up in there the full-time secretary position, if that's even feasible for the new year, but she does a lot of work for me, and she's very diligent in what she does. She's very organized. But I try to help her out, which is some of the stuff transferred back to him also, and me. So, but that still puts things behind, and she's backpedaling, and she's never really caught up. So, anyway, those are my two things, and then, or the three issues that I had in here. As far as the agenda, or not agenda, excuse me, the budget. Were we doing a separate budget hearing, or what are we doing with that? What's the?
I had to go ahead and submit the provisional budget to the papers in order to be compliant with the law. So what I did with the highway department is I just put some numbers in for you so we could get a closer amount that we would publish, and then we can make the changes before we adopt it. So right now, it is put in the way we've discussed it up until now, and then our changes will have to be made and detailed when we adopt the annual budget. But it had to go to the papers, because we do have to meet on first Tuesday in September. The law says shall meet, so usually we meet on Thursdays, so we will have to meet on September 3rd.
Okay, Vicki, what kind of timeframe we got between now and where we're at to where the budget is closed or finalized?
The 24th is where we'll adopt it as the annual budget,
24th of
September.
Anything else, Josh?
No, that was it.
Are we gonna discuss?
You got something to add to it there, Becker?
I guess we'll start with your first deal, transferring 25% over.
Yep.
When did we change the resolution? Resolution WC 2018-11 is where we set how many people are in every office. Which was signed last year. For the sheriff's department, you are authorized 2 deputy sheriffs, 2 full-time deputy sheriffs, 2 part-time deputy sheriffs, and a secretary part-time. So I guess my only thing is, where in any of that does Justin fit in on the sheriff's side? If we have a resolution, isn't that what we're supposed to be going by?
Sure, yeah, but you're supposed to also sign a resolution every year, and I'm under my assumption that, we haven't signed one for this year either. We've moved people around, and
So technically,
I'm just,
with the resolution, can Justin do anything on the sheriff's side?
well, it doesn't
Legally.
It doesn't tie my hands on how I can use them. If I tell him to do something, he's gonna do it. Are you not?
I am.
So, I mean, yes, we can have a resolution there, but like I said, I put that in there because you brought that up last meeting. I don't know, I mean, you recall that, I'm sure, but, so I mean, that's fine, we don't have to. He's helping me out right now because I'm short, he has been, that's just,
I guess my question would be to the state's attorney, can he legally do anything on the sheriff's side with a resolution out there that he is nowhere part of it?
Basically, when we passed the resolution, we were establishing, just like you said, these are all of the positions in the county government system other than elected people. And technically, Justin was hired to be the jail manager where the 100% of his funding for his employment comes out of the jail. So technically, he should be 100% jail as the jail manager. If you want to split that job description up, then that's something you would have to do, but
So,
technically, yeah, you're right.
which in essence, I guess my point is, you have him answering calls and doing other things and taking the vehicle home every night, that he should not be, if he's not a part of the sheriff's department, why would he be taking the vehicle home every night?
because I'm requiring him to take call.
But can he take a call if he's not on the sheriff's side?
I guess, let's split hairs, but if I'm shorthanded,
Then why do we pass a resolution?
why did we added and made changes to other departments without changing a resolution? Already, have we not?
But that has been approved by the board.
Well,
I'm having, why do we pass resolutions and follow these if we don't have to?
like I said, I guess
Is Justin part of the jail or is he part of the sheriff's department?
per your request, that's why I put it in there for the new year.
But then I got to do some checking on this, and with the resolutions,
Could we not sign a new resolution in January? We haven't done one yet this year. We're supposed to do it every year, Mr. Chairman.
Suppose we'd have to do it at the beginning of the year.
But I'm just saying, that we are. But we did it late last year too, really late. But
so my question is can he perform as on the sheriff's side legally?
well, I guess being elected and I'm in charge of my agency, my department. I'll see fit on how to dictate on what his duties are gonna be and what I'm gonna have him do. But I'm not gonna split hairs here on this. I'm not gonna get in an argument with the board. If we need to make a resolution and fix it, then that's what we need to do. But I'm just simply put that 25% there because it was brought up. I'm trying to work with the board here. You already have your statement from the state's attorney. So I guess I will do what I can with 2 people until the end of the year. Because I'm not gonna fight with the board. I'm tired of fighting with the board.
But driving a vehicle back and forth every day,
And he's only been doing it, you know, I did take it away from him. And he's only been doing it a short time while I've been short. So he could also respond to emergency calls. If I need to leave town, or, you know, lately, I haven't been away. I don't know if anybody understands 24/7, 365 days a year, but myself and Travis have been running ragged. And that's my support right there, so I'm not burning people out.
I understand.
You know, because I don't want that. I'm gonna burn myself out.
Did Chato, something happened with Chato? We don't have Chato anymore, or?
No, Cato's still in, he's just in the jail for right now. But, that we're working through, law enforcement training with. So, you know, these phones don't get shut off.
I understand, neither does mine.
You know, and I understand, because I've heard it, you know, and I like my job, but, you know, it also comes a point where you can't burn yourself out either.
I understand.
And not being able to go anywhere without this, take your car, I mean, and I'm not gonna lie to you, lack of better term, you know, go grocery shopping with a patrol car because you have no other way to do it. I'm serious.
I understand you doing that. I don't understand Justin doing it.
I don't
Well,
see
like-
how we can
well,
make
like
our
I said,
sheriff go
he's-
24/7.
Well, like I said, you know,
Be on call 24/7.
he's been support for me while I've been short. So I'm not burning people out. The vehicle was taken away from him, you know, until I don't know what else to, you know, it's easy for him to slip in, you know, to assist with that, because he's got the same qualifications I do. Same arrest hours.
Yes, ma'am. I got a question regarding, changing a little different direction there on the jail as far as our budget. You know, overall budget on the operation of the jail has gone up substantially over the last 4 years, 5 years. And I was just wondering, is there any way that you've looked at or considered the idea of trying to staff, because right now, I mean, I understand that we're bringing the U.S. Marshals again, but is there a way that we could look at the staff, because when we visited with the Sheriff's Department in Pierre, they switched to 12-hour days. And that saved a tremendous amount of dollars in staffing. Because they went from, I don't remember the numbers exactly, but I wanna say they were able to cut almost 8 positions out of their number that they had. And I wanna say it went 35 to 27 as an example, okay? Is there a possibility that we could look at that as an option? Because, I mean, we've gone from a operation of a jail in 2016 of just over 500,000. Now we're pushing at 1.2 million. And I mean, it just seems to me that when I talk to people in the community that hear those numbers, they say, how can we possibly have, what's changed in our jail that has required us to increase our budget that much in operations? And most of it is staffing. I mean, that's totally where that number went up when we went from the 10 to up to the 15 now. I guess my point is it possible that we could look at going to a 12-hour day and get our numbers back down to 10? Because when you look at a chart, when you're starting to do a time charts, and you got to have 3 people on staff, I understand that flow, you got vacation times, you got all that stuff for fill-ins and stuff like that. But boy, it seems to me like we could change a lot of our staffing by looking at that as an option. And being able to drop our number of employees in there and still maintain our 3 people in there.
We've been doing 12-hour shifts for the last 6 months or so. And keeping the 3 people on per shift. To keep the 3 people on per shift, I don't think I can afford to lose anybody if that's what we're gonna stay with.
And I know we, ran into the issue because of the pay structure. You know, a couple of them will have to come in and do a 4-hour stint to make sure they get their 40 in also. So I mean, there's, like yesterday, it worked out great. I mean, we had the extra help there on a court day, because it was a busy day during the day, when you have releases and new ones coming in, and so,
Yeah, I don't know exactly how, without sitting down and talking to the guy again down at Pure, but all I know is when they did the 12-hour deal, he was able to rotate in and out, and they would work like 3 days on, they'd have 4 days off, and they'd come back and he'd have 4 days on, and 3 days, then he'd end up with a longer stretch off. And it was, by rotating them in and out of that,
well, they essentially are working each one about 14, is it 14 days?
Yeah, give or take, we're running about the same thing. They work 3 days one week, 4 days the next.
So I mean, they're working about 14 days total.
I would have to specifically, I guess, talk to him and see where
they cut, because he was, I mean, they went from an 8-hour day to a 12-hour day, and they, like I said, he was able to literally cut 7 or 8 people off staff,
And they
which was a
probably,
huge deal.
And they probably do, because I think they gotta have a minimum of 5, because they're a 150-bed facility over there. 5 or 6, I would have to check on those numbers, but I'm sure that cut down from the 8 going to a 12, I'm sure there was a drastic change that he was able to cut those. That would make sense, but that's a 150-bed facility, so I mean, he probably, when they were on 8s, I can see that adjustment, but, he's still, he's got more there than my required minimum of 3, but, you know, it's like, how much do you wanna throw on a person? If we did that, and we were, even a bare bones, I told him, you know, a minimum of 3 over there. We gotta make sure we can properly take care of inmates and stuff and respond to something. Like I said, I wouldn't throw that back on this commission or anybody sitting in this room, you know, to respond to an incident, whether it's a CPR in progress or splitting up a fight. You know, we have to do our due diligence and keep those people safe. So I mean, there's a response to it, but, and we all know responding with 2 is better than 1. One is sitting there, and the other one, they wouldn't be able to relieve that control room then. Someone's got to be in there to call for the additional assistance, call me, because there's no communication outside that facility.
That, I totally understand that. I guess I'm just looking at the questions that I've
Sure,
been getting,
I
is the
understand.
fact that, how do we go from a jail that hasn't changed size, hasn't changed numbers of people for the most part, but we've taken that budget and literally doubled it in a matter of 4 and 5 years? Why did it work 5 years ago? I guess that's the questions I've been getting, and I think that's where we need to try to cut some costs. But,
Yes, Becky.
Do you know how Pier does their, like, what their pay? Because the problem we're running into here is some people are getting 36 hours, some are getting 48. When they work their 4 days, they're getting 8 hours of overtime. That's a cost. So maybe in Pier, I don't know if they do a 2-week.
I'm guessing they must be on a 2-week deal,
Or
because
80
they were
hours.
ended up with 80 hours is what,
Yeah.
I remember him saying
If
that.
we did a 2-week deal, then the 80 hours would work out.
It would work out better.
Based on 40
However,
hours a week. I
we
know.
tried that before,
I know.
and we had some really negative feedback from the employees.
Yeah.
Anyway, just
So
food
I
for thought.
and I understand that, and we talked about that with Kevin when that first came up. but it, you know, being on the 12s, it also cut the overtime though. People aren't as negative, they actually enjoy the 12s. They don't wanna go back to 8s.
That guy down there said that when they switched from 8s to 12, they
Change it, you know,
everybody liked it better, just
the morale portion.
time, a little way more.
Which you kinda need that with the people howling and spraying and cussing at you, calling you every name in the book. But anyway, I don't know if I answered that correctly, Kevin, but, you know, I put it in there. Maybe we need to fix it in the resolution portion of it and to put that in there. But I made that adjustment because it was something that you were interested in and brought up last meeting.
Now I got to looking at it, I don't see where, I think we've been operating illegally here for quite a while.
Well, I just think there's some things that just gotta get looked at and changed if need be. If we gotta do a resolution, I guess that's what it would be.
Well, we should probably look at that resolution, you know, newly every year, not so late in the year.
I was actually, you know, we have those 3 resolutions we passed at the first meeting of the year. I was going to add those 2 resolutions to that. That's what you guys would like to do. That's what I would suggest, so it's not forgotten and it's not done in the middle of the year and things like that.
I would say put it on there like that.
And it would also, I think would work out better for purposes of budget also.
And Mr. Hare, maybe you could look to see if we were actually required to do them or not.
Well, because basically, we're setting our staffing for the year, every year, so to match our budget. Problem is we are not matching our budget expenditures with our staffing that we pass every year. If you have 15 people that are coming out of the jail budget, 15 salaries, then those 15 people should all be working in the jail. If you have
I know some
Three
counties
three
don't do
salaries.
these resolutions.
pardon?
There's some counties that do not do these resolutions.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it, but we need to stay cleaner on how we do things. So, yeah, if you're going to take Justin's position and make it 75-25, then you should do that in the resolution, because 25% of all of his loaded costs and everything else should come out of the sheriff's budget, and the other 75% should come out of the jail, but you should also specify that this is a 75-25 position, not 100%, because right now, my understanding is this is 100% jail manager that we have been using due to the fact that we're short-staffed on the sheriff's side, but that money should have been coming out of the sheriff's office budget, not out of the jails.
All right?
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Gary.
Stuff like
I'll try and run through this stuff pretty quickly. Always take any questions or comments. I'm really looking for 2 part-time employees. At this stage of the game, I'm asking the commissioners to recognize the request and leave it open for my discretion if and when. My vision for the highway department has been start building the future. I haven't had time to draft employment notice, but it would be worded as such that full-time position possible with the right candidate. And Becky and I talked a little bit about comp time and projected some overtime for next year's budget, limited levels. But with comp time and with vacation times accumulating, I kind of discussed it over with the staff a little bit because they're the focal point of, you keep everybody happy and they'll treat you right, so, part-time employees, could, in case a full-time employee had comp time to use or something, a part-time employee is gonna be pushed into a grader operator or something. Give me a feel as to whether they're capable. I think it would fix the comp time situation a little bit. Vacation times are, I haven't had a chance to look at the numbers, but I'm thinking there's a lot of vacation time that's being carried. My intent would be start building the future with some part-time guys and push them into a career at the highway department. The only thing I would need out of you people is to recognize the possibility, authorize me to advertise if and when I choose it's appropriate, just to get it on the books.
You're looking at part-time, not no more full-time, correct?
Part-time right now,
Right.
Scott, I am extremely scared of walking into a fiscal year in the middle of it, not knowing what's there for budget. One of three things can happen. I can either overexpend, and I would be hoping you guys are monitoring that. A great factor would be I'm right on the line. Worst case scenario, I haven't spent enough and there's a considerable amount of money left in a budget that wasn't spent. That's not fair to the public, so I'm extremely scared about that. So if you consider, right at this stage of the game, the possibility of advertising for 2 part-time employees, I think that's a good move.
Yes, Jamie?
Just for some clarification too, is would they be, rather than part-time, would it be better just to say 2, like 1,000 hour per year employees, that way you could work them? Because I know like that's how Ryan did it in the landfill, where he created rather than a part-time position, created a part-time position that was like 1,000 hours to address some of the benefits issues.
My take on it, Jamie, would be, I would draft the publication for the paper. The commission would have an opportunity to review that prior to choosing a candidate from the applications.
I would just say that the easiest way to do it is probably create, like he was asking for, 2 part-time positions, limit them 1,000 hours each, let him do whatever he wants to do with who he's hiring, anything. It really doesn't even need to come back here. If you're confident on what he's doing that way, he can have that person. Because you may run into, the only thing I'm trying to do is avoid it where you have someone go on vacation for 3 weeks and you need to bring in your part-time blade operator, and they're working 40 hours a week for 3 weeks. But they're still full part-time employees, so if we do it that route, I think that may be making things easier. And then also we should change, just like we were talking about in our last thing, because right now in your staffing, you have how many part-time employees?
2.
So you change it to 4 part-time employees. And you do that by resolution, just like, and that way we know how many positions are out there.
From my memory of the personnel policy, there's part-time seasonal, part-time permanent, I believe.
Yep.
And
These would be part-time permanent though, right?
if the right candidate.
That's what I was gonna
Yes,
get,
Kevin.
that's what I was gonna get at is, like, right now for this other resolution for these other ones, we got, for sheriff's department, for example, we got 1,040 hours per position per year. So, but that's the other thing I was gonna bring up, seasonal or non-seasonal, I wouldn't call it seasonal, I would call it per year, 1,040 hours per year.
And,
Yes, Jim.
and I don't know the answer to this. I think we have our legislative audit guy here, maybe he can answer it. But I'm just trying to set it up so we can allow him to be the most flexible. Because if he is, we have two non-seasonal employees, could we then, and all of a sudden she's been working for 4 months, but we only have budgeted 2 seasonal part-time, can he then let that person go off for, say, 1 day, and then bring him back as the part-timer for the next 6 months or whatever? I don't know the answer to that, but that's something we should look into, so that way we don't run into part-time versus full-time and seasonal, non-seasonal, and that kind of stuff. Because realistically, we just want to be flexible so he can put in whomever he wants, however he wants.
Yes, Brenda.
I think as far as benefits go, isn't it like based on 12-month average working?
It depends on which benefits you're talking about, but yeah, you know, there's certainly, one of the things, of course, is Fair Labor Standards Act, you know, which always comes into play. Anytime that you've got that, you wanna make sure that you're not crossing any rules on that. Now, from the standpoint, if you put it out there as a part-time position, 1,040 hours, no benefits, the employee knows that coming in, you know, and it's scheduled based on availability or need, you know, from that standpoint. You know, so I don't believe it would be too much of an issue. Again, it's best to check with your providers, South Dakota Retirement System, just to make sure that they're clear. I know that other counties have similar situations, so I think it is a doable situation based on your definition.
I have an opinion that I think the personnel policy already has that separated. Unless it's changed since I've been
The
here.
part-time,
It had limits of hours of work.
right.
Yeah, cause like Jerry was 1,400, Gerald was 1,040, I think, or 1,100 or something.
But I was just getting back to saying that it would be the most flexible if we, like you were saying, 2 part-time positions. He could fill it with 1 person or whatever, but definitely change it in our personnel policy, because that's where all of our staffings are. And then just let him make the decision on how he wants to fill those hours.
Are you just gonna write something up and bring it back to us, Gary, or what you wanna do?
You would, yeah.
My suggestion
Time
is
is-
to give him the authorization to start the process on 2 part-time employees.
Vote on it, it's not a motion on it.
I would just put it on, because he's going to present you with the
Right.
next meeting anyhow, so just put on the agenda for next meeting,
To vote on 2 parts.
approve 2 part-time, non-seasonal employees at 1,040 hours.
Do we need a wage, well, no wage would come after, approve advertising.
And approve advertising, approve the position and advertising. And then, I would also acknowledge that, it'll probably create a budgetary issue just because we didn't plan on this, so.
We were also without a superintendent for a while, so
Okay,
it might,
so if there's not
it
gonna be
might
a
work
shortage,
out.
so, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Okay, Gary?
I will want, this is kind of a delicate thing here, under no circumstances am I saying that, the secretary in the highway department is doing a bad job. I think she could be well served with some training from our past business manager, Penny Getz. Would you guys support bringing Penny back as a consultant? Penny and I briefly talked about it yesterday. I did not invite her here today. Right? There's a lot of stuff that, past issues that could be looked at. It would be a load off my mind. What we talked about yesterday, Penny, are you willing to provide that service?
Yes.
If you're willing, I'll ask her to come to the table.
Okay, what are you looking at though?
I'm looking at, 3 months. And you know, it's delicate, but, so delicate, it's tough to even talk about it.
What's the rest of the commission feel, I guess, before we go any further?
If you're looking at it, what then we would do is, again, if you want to do it on a consulting thing, would it be 40 hours a week for 3 months? Is that kind of what you're thinking, Gary? Or should we just do a consulting contract for so many hours?
Not to exceed limit,
Yep.
price?
Yep.
Can that be determined in a meeting?
What the best thing to do is I would assume you kind of want to expedite this as quickly as possible.
Uh-huh.
Put it on the agenda for next meeting, hire a, to hire a consultant for X amount of hours, at X amount of salary, not to exceed X amount of time. And then you would approve that and give the discretion to Gary to be responsible for that. He can monitor the time, he can monitor the time frame, all that stuff. And then that way, it'd just be under him as highway superintendent. This is how much money has been put out there for a part-time, no benefits. Or not part-time, but as a consultant to train the secretary, and just let it run like that. You wouldn't need to do an interview or anything, just let him do it. He's the superintendent.
So you're saying this would be like a contract where it would not go through payroll, it would be like a service?
Services fee, yeah. Because she has an expertise that none of us have, or very few people have. So that's how I would treat it, as a like that.
What's the rest of the commission feel?
It's not on the agenda, so.
No, I know that. Still have
This
the
would be on
meeting.
next agenda, but he
Right.
just kind of brought that up.
I would say put it on our agenda, the next
Okay.
meeting.
Oh, okay.
But when you do put it on the agenda, Gary, just have everything, get a hold of me, and we can probably get an agreement drawn up, so that way they can just approve it right at the meeting. Or we can make any modifications, if that's all right with you. That way it's done next meeting.
I don't wanna muddy the water, but, could it be simple, a reinstatement of, since a resignation, I believe, occurred?
I guess is the goal back. Well, she's an appointed position, this is going to more of a professional or a contracting
Right.
thing.
Like I was saying, the option of reinstated as business manager since there was a resignation.
We would have to, we no longer have a business manager, correct, or do we have a full-time business manager? I don't think we have a full-time business manager, so that would be the problem, is we don't have that position created.
I just wanted to
Correct?
throw that out.
I just
there.
want to make sure that we're on the same page, because right now, it's my understanding, we have full-time highway superintendent, full-time secretary, and then, that position was done away with when we went to the two separate jobs. Is that right?
Yes.
Which is clear as mud for everyone, I think. Yeah, I would just say the easiest way is to just get a hold of me with hours, dollar amount, all of that. Put it on the agenda, we can just bring it right into the commission for them to approve. And then it's all at your discretion.
Move on real quick, like, 12th Street East, 12th Street in Mobridge and the east section of Secondary Road 127th Street, north side of the airport. The commissioners, the drive around, I think we looked at, we placed gravel on 12th Street, the east 3 blocks, say 4 blocks. I think we drove to the Badgley Road. The Badgley Road, I feel the public deserves something better than what they've got for over the winter. Morris Incorporated has the contract for services on the airport project. I talked to them and asked them if they would consider a joint power agreement request with the county. To number one, let me explain joint power agreements. By virtue of a joint power agreement, counties such as Walworth can ask the contractor, who's the contract carrier with the city of Mobridge, will you provide us the same services, i.e. if there's a line item bid for milling that's incorporated in the original project. That would be the cost to Walworth County for that line item bid. If there's any trucking, it's a line item bid, that line item bid follows to the county. Morris said they're willing. I'm looking at, they've got estimated 4,000 ton of milled asphalt that becomes Morris's property if not used on the airport project. They asked if we would be interested in purchasing it. At the time I was, but it was kind of a spendy number. Looking now to take that product and put it on the Badgley Road and let them mill a depth determined by me and an engineering firm. If we can get 4 inches of milled asphalt over the top of the asphalt and gravel that's there, the spread weight would use the whole supply up. It's gotta be moved from the airport for the plate thing, can't remember what they call it, the glide pattern or whatever. The price, the quote for purchase by the county was $10 a ton. It's feasible for the county to pay $10 a ton as long as it's just a half mile away from the project. If you have to truck it on top of $10, it gets too spendy. So, if you guys are interested, a motion to offer a joint power agreement request to Morris. And my recommendation would be also a joint power agreement request with KLJ Engineering, which is the engineering firm on the project. Their primary duty would be administrative, that if we determine 9 inches of milling depth, they would be the ones that would monitor the contract price so that we're not paying any more or any less for what the contract price was on the airport. There's not going to be any construction staking. It's simply get the product there, get it milled. 12th Street, they'll bring their mill over. We had a quote for $4,500, a lump sum price for them to bring their mill over to 12th Street and mill with no other involvement. put that project and the Badgley Road project on under a joint power agreement request, then it's all covered in one package. Did I confuse you?
What are they looking at for cost over there at the 127th?
See, there is no cost. We have to start with commission approval. Then from there, we can fine tune the stockpile volumes to a spread rate for Badgley's. And from there, determine area. And from there, determine what the price is, line item price is for milling. And line item price, what it is for blading and shaping and packing. So there really aren't any numbers until we do the joint power agreement thing.
So who would do the shaping and blading? Would we do that, or?
They would.
They would do all that?
They would provide the trucks to put the product in the segment at Badgley's. They would blade it out. The mill would come, mill the whole thing together. The blade would shape it and pack it and leave it alone for the winter. It's just for a winter access thing. Next year, there's a likelihood that the rest of Badgley Road would probably be under the same circumstances. Joint power agreement request is gone. We can either bid it that way, or if somebody else is working in the area where we can joint power agreement request, line item specific. But I think the whole, I used to call it Cahill Road, is probably gonna be added gravel depth and reshape and make back into asphalt would be in 2020 or
Do you-
21.
Do you have a ballpark figure what this possibly could be?
There's an engineering firm in Aberdeen. When I questioned or considered the possibility that you guys didn't want to get involved with any of the parties or the whole situation, roughly project let in Day County, I believe, where contractors bring in base material. On those situations, if the engineer wants to change the profile, they add gravel depth with the dozer to get a new profile, and then the mill comes in and mills it full depth, and then the contractor blade shapes and compacts, and another subcontractor puts the asphalt over the top. That's Day County, that's not Walworth County, but it was presented around $70,000 a mile. But that's not a fair number to look at.
Doesn't that just seem a little high for that milled stuff at $10 a ton?
A lot of people like it and want it. We paid $13 a ton for that activity on 12th Street from Jensen Rock and Sand. That was gravel blended millings, where it wasn't pure millings, and that was $13 a ton. And when I chose to do that, number one, we didn't have a gravel supply anywhere close to the area, but they had a stockpile in Woodbridge. We got the road fixed so it was drivable in a short period of time, and we did it. Saved a lot of freight.
Well, what's the rest of the commission feel about this?
There might be, one more comment, there might be a situation where we may have to purchase the 4,000 ton just to be in compliant with the provisions in the contract for the airport project. May have to or may not have to, but some of that stuff might be out of compliance, but it would be our prerogative to ensure it's in compliance, so.
I guess one concern that I would have is dealing with a company that we're already in a lawsuit with, that we haven't settled the lawsuit with. You know, this would be a different project, but we are still in a lawsuit with them. And they're not cooperating with that, so. That would be one of my concerns.
Marion?
I was thinking the same thing that Kevin just said with the people that are involved here, but maybe the question I had was, is it possible to buy this pile and we transfer the product ourselves?
Yes. But then we need a mill to mill it. And the quote I had for 12th Street, I think I said is $4,500. And that's from Morris, since their machine's sitting in the airport. That would be driven across the road and milled, and the county forces would pick the millings up, reshape, pack for the winter.
Do you have time for all that?
It would be convenient if the contractor would do this.
Jim, what do you think?
I think we should go ahead and do it. I don't think I have a problem with us being on a lawsuit with them. Morris come down and crushed gravel for us, and done an excellent job, I thought. And, I just looked at it, it's gonna cost us a whole lot more if we bring somebody else in to come and do it. I don't know if our highway staff has the time to do all that this year. With the last couple springs we've had, I think they got their hands full.
One more comment, Scott. My take on joint power agreement requests is that the governing entity offers the joint power agreement request to the contractors. The contractors aren't legally responsible to take it. My take on it. But it appears that both KLJ and Morris are interested in performing the service.
I guess personally, me too, I got it in my mind that, yes, we are still in lawsuit with these two. What is your advice to us, Jamie?
It's totally up to you folks. I don't have an answer for you as far as, basically, the county's view is one or both of them have some responsibility for those two washing out, and no one has still stepped up to try and get finished, so I really can't. That's a decision you have to make as a commission.
So if something happens on this one, and they say, well, no, it's we're not done with the first one yet, then what do we do on this one?
Assume again, on the most recent deal.
What kind of guarantees would we have if we did this with them? Till we see their taillights drive off? That's basically the guarantee we got the last time from them. As long as you can see their taillights, but once you didn't see their taillights anymore, they had no responsibility whatsoever.
That's why I brought it forward. You feel free to make comments.
Do you know what it would, roughly what it would cost to bring a different milling machine in?
I mean, as far as,
The only, and since I requested the quote to mill 12th Street, the price came $4,500. It wasn't X amount per square yard. That tells me that the contractor might be throwing some mobilization cost in. You would go to assume that the mobilization costs are real minimal because it's right across the road. You know, if you would bid it and the entity is from Minnesota, the mobilization cost would be a lot higher than one that's already sitting there, you know what I'm saying?
It's not that big a project where we, is it? I mean, for a
And
contractor
then my
to move in.
take on it would be, I'm looking for a fast fix on the road because they're dodging potholes like they did on 12th Street. The road is alligator. If it wouldn't be for its asphalt surface, they would probably really be rutting the road up. Right now, the traffic's floating on it. And on this thing, it's like, get the additional product on there, get it milled in, blade shape it with a crown, and the additional millings blended with the gravel base and the existing surfacing will provide a stable foundation for over the winter and give them a road they can drive on over the winter, so.
Do we need a motion to enter into this agreement? I would, if so, I would make that motion, we just will vote yes or no, get it done with.
I guess we don't have nothing on there to vote. A motion, yes,
He was requesting a motion to offer the joint powers agreement to Morris and KLJ.
I would so move.
The engineering side will probably come at a cost, you know, like minimal. But the engineering involvement is just account administration, and there won't be any construction staking. It'll be determine a spread rate. If there's 25 ton on this truck and we want 4 inches placed, the spread rate will be dumping from flag to flag. There won't be any density tests. Get it on there, get it shaped. It's a gravel road until we can make it asphalt again, so.
Jim, you made a motion?
Yep.
I'll second that.
You have a motion on the floor, and a second. Any other discussion on that?
I guess, maybe just not try to put the state's attorney on the side. What are your feelings on this thing as far as entering in something like this? I mean, is this a good deal or bad deal as far as, when you got something already on the books with the lawsuit?
Would have been nice, I mean, cause basically we paid the money to have the service done that failed multiple times. We're just the person who paid the bill. There are 2 other entities out there that did the work and the other one was the engineer for it. And it would have been nice if they would have said, yeah, this is our mistake, let's get it squared away, but we're not there either. So it's your guys' call. I really don't have an answer for you on how it's gonna affect other things. I don't know.
Yes, my feeling is if it was a different contractor, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I just have an issue with already being in a lawsuit with him. If it was a different one, I'd have no problem at all with it.
Any other discussion? I'll go roll call. Kevin,
Nay.
Marion,
I guess I'm gonna say nay also.
Jim,
Yes.
Davis.
Trying to move a little faster here, I know we're way over time, so. Work process, work progress, we're pretty well. Let's move on to establishing a borrow site. In the event, had some discussion at West Moser's place in relation to, do we do a grade raise through there? At the time, and what's kind of bringing this forward is that we could save a lot of money if we would get landowner permission in an area, and in this case, it was targeting the snow catch area on the Blue Blanket Road, where we could bring a scraper in and a dozer and provide the dirt to do a grade raise over the flooded area east of West Mosers. What brought this about is that I discussed the possibility that the county could pay him for X amount of cubic yards, or how much a cubic yard for dirt. And in the event there was crops there, the county would pay for crop damage. What's your take on that? I think I proposed $1 a cubic yard for material. It's likely not, at this stage of the conversation, the communication, at this stage, it probably isn't gonna happen, but if something else pops up to where I propose using some borrowed dirt from private property to do grade raises, you wanna do that on an individual basis, or you wanna set a rate, or?
What kind of rate are you thinking?
I was thinking $1 a cubic yard.
To me, I think it should be your discretion there. I mean, I don't think we need to discuss every one. I guess that's my opinion. You should.
It's gonna be time consuming, but I proposed opening, digging the Blue Blanket Road open to allow for drainage of the slough that's overtopping the road. We did an informal survey. I have to commend the public. They were all supportive. Nobody was against it, but considered opening Blue Blanket Road up to a depth of about 18 inches to allow the water to leave the slough and bring the road out of water. All in all, I think it's in Walworth County's best interest to not pursue draining any sloughs. The public support was there, that it appeared that if we open it up, there may have been some, you could see it on aerial photos, that some drainage probably has occurred. But in a situation like that, we're taking a body of water of its own, a slough, and putting it into, in this case, Blue Blanket Lake. That would impact thousands and thousands of acres. And all it takes is one party to recognize that by our action, maybe the lake rose 1/8 of an inch, which may have caused structure damage. It's in our best interest to stay away from draining fluids, so you wanna do that on an individual basis, that if and when it occurs, or give me some kind of a number?
I would say that'd be up to you to negotiate with them, and give you the authority to do that on your own.
I don't think we needed to discuss every time there is one.
Can the county legally drain a slough?
According to limited correspondence with the NRCS, if it's an emergency situation, there is provision. But I would have a hard time determining there's an emergency situation. Obviously, some guys are gonna have to go around with their harvest stuff. I think in order to get to Charlie Salverson's, somebody from Glenham would have to go to the Bethany Church Road and around that way.
Which wouldn't be tremendously
There's no chance of liability to the county just because they, unless you wanna comment, if they have to go 7 miles around, there's no liability to the county. Now, if, on this situation, the water is up next to the road on the Blue Blanket Road, in the event a large rainfall would happen, that slough will drain over Blue Blanket or the Blue Blanket Road, and if it scours the road out, in my opinion, we have no liability against that. I mean, it is not responsibility, it's a naturally occurring situation. Follow me? Any other questions? That, the blade patching area of the asphalt roads, I did get a quote from Jensen Rock and Sand for $70 a ton. My interpretation that, we can spend up to $25,000 buying asphalt. I need to check with Jensen Rock and Sand and see if that's like a state bid price or something. Yesterday we did, $6,500 worth of asphalt material. I had projected using 200 tons. I think that projection is probably gonna end up to be 400 or 500 tons, and which will take us over the bid limits. But, you know, Jensen's provided me with, if they can, provide me with it, that's a DOT quoted price, where somebody entity has bid it already, we can go over 25, so.
How are we coming on patching all the potholes on the asphalt roads?
It's spendy, but the potholes are pretty deep. We're hand patching the ones that aren't large. The ones that are large, we're tacking it, dumping the asphalt material and blade patching it, so. Just a quick comment. If we go too early on blade patching that stuff, and the sub base by virtue of the surface being destroyed and aerating, if the sub base is still wet at the time we blade patch it, the likelihood the patch isn't gonna hold. If we go too late and get into a seasonal limitation thing where it gets cool, it's harder for the grader to lay it, and so we're trying.
I've been getting a lot of calls on it, when are they gonna get to this road? Call Gary.
Yeah. The LGP dozer that we discussed, I think I'm gonna sit on that. New price was somewhere around that $318,000 mark. How I'm operating this is like I did in '96 and '97, that if there's FEMA money that comes in and used to offset costs of projects, it can free up some budget money or some cashes for purchases, so. Swan Creek Bridge, that should say 5.5 miles west of Acalska. It's a pony truss bridge structure that was abandoned, I'm gonna say around about '93, and barricaded closed. That's fallen into the creek. I think I probably said something about that before, but I'm looking at, putting together some kind of a contract thing to have somebody come in and remove it out of the creek. I had checked with the game fish and parks to see if they'd be interested in salvage for like, walking path or something like that. They informed me this morning that, they probably wouldn't work for them, so. I'm planning on late October, early November, having somebody come in and get the structure out of the creek. It's causing some scour damage on a rock crossing there. So that's for your information. Drainage issues. I've got one picture that, oh, maybe two pictures. The depth, that's the discharge end of the pipe that is between Les Maniac's old place and Beeman's place. The cattle house. The water has scoured the channel to a deeper elevation. I think the actual footage, 2.5 feet, the water's dropping. That's taken the scour onto the private property side, and that's saying it's because of the culvert draining. But I've talked to a couple NRCS board of directors people, and in that case, our hands are kind of tied. That how do we reestablish a flow line so the water doesn't do this, it flows, because the scour has occurred well out on private property. A couple landowners I talked to indicated that they can't cross their creek anymore because of the scours that I'm saying are naturally occurring. The board of directors people, I commented that it may be time for the NRS to look back at instituting the waterway construction thing. This is just conversation at this stage, but our hands are kind of tied on making improvements to that. So obviously you can't lower the pipe 2.5 feet lower, and if you did, you're reestablishing a flow line to the private property side that, so if you talk to anybody, I'd definitely love to hear comments from the ag sector.
Gary and I looked at that the other day and didn't see the conduit for the phone line that's exposed.
We got several of them on this concrete road too, not out to the property owner, or not in the outside of the fence, but out of the right-of-way line, you know, probably 3-4 feet deep.
And then my point is that there's silt on the inlet and there's scour on the discharge. You could take the silt from the inlet side and transfer it, we're talking working in right away, and transfer it to the scour side, but it's not gonna stay.
Right.
It's gonna wash out. So I would hope in the next year or two that there'd be a concerted effort to really address waterway stuff, so.
In them pictures that you sent around, is that something that, just to protect that culvert and stuff the way it is that something that we should be looking at putting some big rock or something in there, or what's the?
Number one, if somebody leaves the road, and goes, and they hit the, we have a liability. If you put rock in there, on the principal side, the water runs out of the discharge at a flow line. It hits the rocks, it's gonna filter through the rocks and come out at the flow line where the dirt is. I think placing rocks like that is probably just as much of a liability, and especially if you put the rocks in 2.5 feet deep as referenced on the grade rod, there's nothing holding them rocks from going out onto private property. Understand? Any questions?
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
You're up. We're gonna take a 5-minute break real quick here.
Audit. Here today to have a closing conference on the 2016-2017 audit that was completed. The auditor that I had assigned to the Walworth County audit from Aberdeen decided to take retirement and enjoy some time doing some other things. And so otherwise he would have been here presenting his findings. Since I review all the audits, I decided to come up and meet with the commission and try and give you the results of the audit and try and answer any questions that you may have. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to do this. I will hand out
States.
the document that I've handed out to you is our management letter. This is basically a process we go through, a letter that we basically issue to the county, to the governing board, that brings up the results of the audit, which will come out in a formal audit report, plus also other items that we felt, based on our professional opinion, was important enough to bring to the awareness of the board. We basically, from the audit standpoint, we look at things as far as deficiencies in internal control. We have different levels. There's a material weakness, which is the highest level of a deficiency in internal control. We then have a significant deficiency, and then we have other deficiencies. And so, based on the audit, we basically classify the comments in various manner. I'm not going to sit and read this entire document to you. I'm just going to have a general discussion about what we found. If you have any questions while we're going through it, feel free to jump in and ask me. On page 1, you can see is just the general information talking about the audit that was completed, what our consideration of the internal controls is. It's for a limited purpose described in trying to basically inform the county of what we found. If you go to page 2, you will see an area that are deficiencies noted in internal controls, which are material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, which are included in the current audit findings of the report. Those are the areas I'm going to address first. We'll come back to the rest of the items that I noted, but we're going to go to the audit report itself. So if you'll switch to or flip to page 4. This is the schedule of prior and current audit findings. This is the actual comment section that will come out in your audit report. It is marked draft, and the reason it is marked draft is you have an option as a board to respond to the audit comments that are in a report. And so the comments are finished. The reason the draft is on there is we're awaiting your decision whether you want to respond or not. You do not have to respond. If you choose not to, we would simply place it in the management response area that the county chose not to respond. So, the first section deals with the prior audit findings. And again, I'm not going to go through those in detail. There were 5 findings. Of the 5 findings, 4 of them are restated in the current audit findings. And so there is some carryover on that. We did have one finding that was resolved. That was finding 2015-04, which dealt with the general fund exceeding the maximum allowed by state statute for fund balance, unassigned fund balance. So we'll start at the bottom of page 4 in our schedule of current audit findings. Our first finding is an internal control related finding, material weakness, dealing with financial reporting errors. The finding states that the internal and accounting controls over financial reporting for the years 2016 and 17 were inadequate, resulting in inaccurate and incomplete information being presented to the users of these reports. This is the third consecutive audit in which a similar finding was noted. The next part is, at the bottom there, starts our analysis section, and then if you go on to page 5, you will see the various items. The analysis section details out the reporting errors that we noted during our audit. There were some rather large adjustments that were necessary, and some rather large adjustments that had to be made to your statements. Some of the issues came about from, part of the process is we have a worksheet that basically takes information from your detailed fund statements and crosses it over to a government-wide statement. There were some problems in that crosswalk not being accurately completed, so it did cause some errors. The list you see there, if you have any specific questions, I can certainly detail what basically took place in those. The main premise, or one of the main things I want to bring about is all of the financial statements that will be in the audit report, all of these have been corrected. So the financial statements that come out in the audit report are accurate. We are issuing an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion you can get on your financial statements after these adjustments. So they have been taken care of. Part of our recommendation for this finding is we recommend the county strengthen internal accounting control over the financial reporting. Our department does also provide tools for financial reporting. It provides assistance and training. We have a gentleman that puts on training throughout the state. Certainly take advantage of any of those that you can. If you have questions, let us know. We're there to assist and help as much as we can. So, yes?
What does that kind of cost?
Excuse me?
That training?
The training, in most cases, if we're there simply speaking at another organization's, the cost is up to them. We do not charge for our training. From our standpoint, we consider that statutory assistance. We are allowed by statute to provide assistance to counties in some of those areas, within reasonable respect. We don't want somebody to say, well, we'd like somebody here, 24, every day. No. But we're certainly more than willing to work with anybody as far as providing the training.
I just wanted to point out with these that are here, I did notice the problems before the audit was complete, but he was unable to accept the new document with the correct numbers in the correct places.
Yes, and I should, certainly, you are correct. The annual report basically, that is filed as of March 1st, it is the completed document, which is what we base off of. You are correct that, certainly there was changes that were determined after that point in time. That, again, as you point out, you did bring up. So, yes, certainly. Any questions on finding 1? If not, we'll flip to finding 2017-02, record keeping internal control deficiencies. We are considering this to be a significant deficiency. Material weakness being the highest level, significant deficiency at the next level. And again, this is a repeat comment. The finding states the county's internal controls over recording of financial transactions were inadequate, resulting in diminished assurance that the county's financial transactions were properly recorded. This is the third consecutive audit in which a similar finding has been noted. Internal controls serve as a safeguard for the county. And so when we talk about internal controls, we're talking about checks and balances, reconciliations, various things that go on to assure that your transactions are being done correctly and accurately. So it is a very important thing from that standpoint. That's how you as a board can rely on things that you receive. If things are set up to be reconciled, reviewed, approved, and taken care of, it makes your job easier. It gives you that reliability case. Internal controls are there to prevent errors, prevent fraud, prevent violation of laws, regulations, So it's an important part of what a county does and what we do when we come in to look, is to see what those controls are. We will go through some of the deficiency we noted, because we want to bring it to your attention. We did note that the county auditor's general ledger cash balances were not reconciled to the treasurer's daily balance record. We noted the month-end variances between the county auditor and county treasurer fluctuated. In October of 2017, the variance was $1,700 approximately. In December, it was $2,100. Now, I will say, you know, based on the fact that we have had an issue over the past couple of audits with some of this process. Based on what I saw this time, improvements have been made, which is good. That's what we want to see, is we want to see things getting better. We want to see improvements being made. However, this is a very important step. So we really need to focus on this to make sure that we get this straightened out. Once we get it to where we know things are working the way we want, that's when you bring things back to zero and you say, okay, we're starting from this day and we're not going to let this variance happen. If something comes up, you go back, you find out why, and you fix it. So that's one of the important parts from that standpoint. The next item we have deals with agency fund cash balances recorded in the general ledger for your air flight property tax, your holding fund cash, overpayment tax fund, and the LAOP grant agency fund. These are agency funds in which you are accounting for someone else's money. You are basically collecting it, distributing it out. In the case of the air flight property tax fund, the holding fund cash agency fund, and the overpayment tax fund, at the end of the year, we had a balance in those funds. That shouldn't happen. You're supposed to be distributing the money out. So it should reconcile to a zero balance at all times. So again, one of the things we need to do is to make sure that we're going through that process of making sure the agency funds clear out. Now, as far as the LEOP grant agency fund had a balance in it, we had discussed that previously with the county auditor and determined that the fund should be possibly remitted to Fort Hawk Emergency Management. I believe that
That's been done.
that has been done. So that has been taken care of now.
The overpayment of taxes has been done, and the holding fund cash has been done.
Okay. So it's good. We've got resolution on some of these already, so that's certainly great. Item C on the bottom of page 6, the fire protection fund, special revenue fund had a negative cash balance of $139.76. It's not a lot, but the fact is, it shouldn't. And so again, it comes down to, establishing some sort of a procedure to make sure that you monitor so that funds don't go into the negative cash balance. If it's negative, it's borrowed from something else. We don't want that happening. So that's to keep that in mind going forward. Item D on the bottom of page 6, there is no independent review of the general ledger changes to beginning balance account report, the edit miscellaneous receipt report, or the changes in tax receipt report. We've talked about before the approval of the general journal entry, which is basically it's a manual entry you're making to your accounting system. And I did look after our discussion, and those were signed off and approved independently. So that was not the issue. This gets down to between your office and the treasurer's office, so that you run that edited miscellaneous receipts report to make sure that there isn't anything going, that there aren't changes being made that you didn't become aware of. And so it's more looking at the year-end report is what we're talking about.
So are we supposed to have somebody, who would be an independent review?
It can be another office, it can be between your treasurer and your auditor. It can be in your auditor's office, it can be one of her other employees. Some people have always said, well, I'm not sure I would really understand what they were doing. Sometimes it's not as important about understanding what they're doing. It's the mere fact that they, meaning the person, has to show what they're doing to somebody else. Nobody wants to be wrong. They want to make sure they're doing things right, so they're going to make sure that they're right. And so it's the mere fact that two sets of eyes are looking at it. and it's a preventative control, is what we try to do. Now, we hope that the other person has the understanding of what's going on. If they don't, they should ask the question, okay, why are we making this entry? How come did we have to do this, adjust this account and this account? That requires the person to explain. That's what we want. We want two people involved so that nobody can make a change through the accounting system or else somebody else will know about it. It's a preventative control. On the top of page 7, we basically have down, as a result of the things we just discussed, the county, was exposed to an increased risk of accounting errors and irregularities not being detected in a timely manner. That's what internal controls do, is they help you to detect the errors, to detect the things in a timely manner and get them corrected. Recommendations, pretty straightforward, kind of follow down what we had discussed. We recommend the county perform monthly reconciliation of the county treasurer's records to the general ledger cash balances. We recommend the county implement month-end procedures to ensure agency fund cash balances are properly clearing out. We recommend the county, you've already basically forwarded the money to Warhawk on recommendation number 4. Recommendation 5, we recommend the county auditor review all adjustments made to miscellaneous receipts and tax receipts by the county treasurer's office and the general ledger change to beginning balance account report. So those deal with the internal control issues that we had. We did see, again, some improvements from the last time, but we still have a ways to go. There's still some more things we can do that will help clean things up and hopefully help get things reconciled and taken care of in a more timely manner. So we certainly want to keep seeing improvement being made from that respect. Any questions dealing with finding 2017-02? Finding 2017-03 is the Sheriff's Department internal accounting control record keeping issues. We noticed some deficiencies in internal control and record keeping in the Sheriff's Department, resulting in diminished assurance that transactions were properly executed and reported, and that assets were properly safeguarded. This is the second consecutive audit for this finding. Again, in our analysis section, we have, basically the items that we noted. And again, I believe there was a changeover in your personnel in accounting. We had come in a couple audits ago, gone through things extensively, put together some things, helped some things go, but I believe that individual is no longer with the county. And so, it's too bad, I guess, from that standpoint. We did expend, a fair amount of time trying to do that. We're certainly willing to come back and try to give some more assistance and guidance and help in this area. And certainly would offer that up to the sheriff if he chooses to take us up on it. So.
Some of the stuff is still it's all being utilized, the same spreadsheet that Dave worked with us on, and previous secretary. So the newest secretary is still using that spreadsheet.
Good.
So, and keeping on task with those. But I would sure appreciate the training if there is anything available. So.
Yeah, and we will certainly see, whether it be one that we're putting on for other, county officials, or whether maybe a one-on-one situation. We can certainly, see what we can work out from that standpoint. We want it to go good for you, and so that it improves, the things that we know. So we can certainly work on that. Any questions on the analysis? Basically we had pre-numbered receipts were not issued for all money received. We did have the receipts written for fiscal permits included sales tax being charged. We are not aware of that being necessary. Did you check with Department of Revenue, Sales Tax Division, and they said?
No, I do not do it.
Okay, so that's taken care of. We did have the sheriff, needs to provide, some better oversight on the bank statements, the propriety of the checks written, and the record-keeping functions in the sheriff's department. The last item we had, last audit, we had gone through some reconciliations and worked with the sheriff's department and its personnel. and came up with an account balance remaining that was not determinable as to what its purpose was. It was $3,348.72. Our recommendation at that point in time was that, once we've exerted all efforts to figure out what it is, let's clean it out, get it over, just put it in the general fund. If somebody comes and basically, claims that something was theirs, take care of it there, just to get them back to clear. Now, we were unable to determine whether that had been done. So that is something that we'll want to work with you and your personnel to try and get figured out. It could have gotten combined with another receipt or something else. We just couldn't find clear evidence of the fund clearing out with that amount.
And if I remember correctly, we got dinged twice on that because we couldn't locate, and it came in from another error before me, but that's not an excuse, but yeah, like you said, we need to make sure that money was moved.
Okay.
It
To
seems
actually-
like I remember that happening, but I think it might have been combined with others, so with another
That's the issue that we were running into.
receipt,
Right.
so.
It
And
was
I-
combined with some other dollars going in, and
Well, and that's, we
That's
tried to
the
backtrack
issue
it
of-
too.
well, and the issue of writing a check for each separate thing to try and, I
Yeah.
mean,
But see, at that point, he was receiving all of the checks from the other counties for boarding and putting them through his account and then writing one check to the treasurer. So I think that's what happened there, is he just included that amount with one of those deposits
Yeah.
to the treasurer, and now it comes directly to the treasurer.
Yeah, and when we tried to backtrack it, we could not reconstruct based on the way that the records were and what was there.
Right.
And so, if we can basically look at it and determine that, yes, it was taken care of, that's fine. That was our biggest concern, from that standpoint. We'll try to get something figured out to make sure that, things get corrected, and we hope to get back, going down the right path. But- If you flip to page 8, page 8 is our finding 2017-04, which is non-compliance with South Dakota codified laws. The finding states the county did not comply with several South Dakota codified laws governing the operations of counties. This is the third consecutive audit in which similar finding was noted. I'll kind of walk through some of these because, again, compliance with state statutes is part of what the audit process does. We come in and we look at the county on how they administer and monitor the compliance with the laws. The first item we had was, we noted that the county had not established an emergency management fund. Now, from that standpoint, you guys are part of a joint organization that provides some of those services. However, you still have some functions yourself. Statute requires that you have an emergency management fund if you're performing those functions. So that is something we need to establish. Get an emergency management fund there, treat it as a special revenue fund, adopt a budget to take care of your side of the costs from that standpoint. I believe in this case, we did have some expenditures and subsequent reimbursement from the state. So we accounted for those in the general fund, where technically based on statute, it should be an emergency management. So we need
That's
to-
in the process right now.
Okay. The next item B, South Dakota Codified Law 710-4 states that the county auditor shall prepare by the first day of March of each year a report of the revenue expenditures of the previous year as of December 31st. And the report shall be made to the Auditor General, our department, and shall be published 30 days thereafter. As far as the annual financial report of the county for the year ended December 31st, 2017, it was not published in filed. It was actually published in your county's official newspaper on July 4th of 2017 and July 5th of 2017. So again, in addition to being a violation of South Dakota codified law, not getting that annual report done on a timely basis, prevents taxpayers and governing boards from getting the information that's necessary. So from that standpoint, it is an important part of the process. One of the things that we continually work on with our department is trying to provide, again, guidance, assistance, training. We're trying to provide tools that will help make the job a little easier, put this report together. You know, when you're all said and done, I'm sure many of you have seen the annual report, but I mean, it can be a large amount of pages. There's a lot of work there, but it's important. So, you know, certainly it's something that will continue to work with the county auditor and work with the county to try and give as much assistance and guidance as we can. Item C, in 2016, 2017, and 2018, the Refuge Revenue Sharing Fund received funds, should be funds. That's good, it's still draft. Funds received were not apportioned or dispersed in accordance with the Refuge Revenue Sharing Act. It was also determined that the county was not using updated acreage data in the calculation of the apportionment. This is the third consecutive audit in which this finding has been done. Again, it's the money that comes from the federal government needs to be distributed out in the manner of taxes to the affected taxpayers. Those funds are there to replace lost taxes, and so that's the reason behind them. I do have, one of the things we had talked about earlier was the updated acres, and I do have that information. I will get that to you when we're done. Item D, as outlined in SDCL 1044, fire departments are eligible for an annual distribution of their fire insurance premium receipts. And the county receives the money, and then it's their responsibility to distribute it out to the certified fire departments. The county received the 2016 distribution on October 26th of 2016. However, the receipt was not dispersed to the fire departments until March 10th of 17. We should try and do it within 30 days. If you have problems with not having the list of the certified fire departments, you can obtain that from the state fire marshal. If you're not sure you have one that was and isn't, you know, you can contact the state fire marshal. He can help you out. It may be that they didn't have the required number of people, and so they're no longer certified. If they're no longer certified, they no longer get the money. So.
A note on that, we received that money this month and we've already dispersed it
Okay.
for this year.
Very good. Item E is SDCL 1017-9 requires that a reconciliation of unpaid taxes shown in the tax list be that are no more than 6 years old, that they basically do a reconciliation as of December 31st. There's two laws that are out there. One deals with the publication of your delinquent taxes, and the other deals with the actual reconciliation of your taxes to your tax list to your tax account record. The publication one was complete. The year-end one didn't have documentation of completion. And again, in this day and age with electronic systems, it's a lot easier because it's normally maintained in a database. So from that standpoint, it's again, just taking those year-end reports, make sure they're accurate, make sure the balances at the end of the year are accurate, and just basically signing off on it that you compared them and taking care of them. The item F, SDCL 718-3 states that the board shall publish a full and complete report of its official proceeding. While we were looking at testing some of the vouchers, we had two instances where it came up where the amount that the board approved and the amount that was published weren't the same. Now, the amount the board approved was the right amount. So we didn't have a problem with that part of it. But the publication, for some reason, whether it be a clerical error, whether it be just the wrong amount was in there, wasn't published correctly. That publication is how the public is informed of what the expenditures are. So we want to try to make sure that those are accurate. I know in one instance, it was, one claim had two invoices and only one invoice got published. Was one of the situations. I happened to look at it again the other night. Next item, SDCL 34, or item G, 3431A 34 states that the Secretary Treasurer of the Rural Fire Protection District shall, on or before January 31st, file a financial report with the county auditor. In the case of when we looked in 16 and 17, we had 2 fire districts that were not on file with the county auditor. Now, I believe you said they are.
We got them before the audit was over, but, like, one of them is Java, and we just received theirs for 18, what was it, like, a couple weeks ago?
Okay.
And with a note apologizing that it was late.
And then, as part of the process, you know, certainly from that standpoint, when we come in, that's something that we look at. And so it's nice if, you know.
So
if
what do you
can-
suggest, do I contact them?
Yeah,
Because-
it's not a bad idea, it's just a courtesy from that standpoint. Okay, you know, they're supposed to have it to you by the 31st, or the end of January. Okay, if you're not getting it, you know, and you've got a list and you got a contact, you know, drop an email, give them a phone call, just say, hey, you know, just reminding you, this was supposed to be in January. Because some of the times they forget. I mean, it just happens. But certainly putting it on, you know, just a heads up thing, you know, is certainly a courtesy to them. Really, your responsibility is simply to have it on file. You know, you don't necessarily have any enforcement action over them from that standpoint. But if we come in and we don't have it, you know, then we can certainly talk to them.
Okay.
Item H, SDCL 1036-7 states that the county treasurer shall allocate and transmit taxes collected, rural electric gross receipts tax is the tax we're talking about, from each company to the school treasurer of each school district in which the company operates. In the prior audit, we determined that the 2014 rural electric gross receipts tax was not apportioned and was not distributed properly in accordance with the law. At that time, the management's response was that the issue had been resolved. However, when we looked, we could not find no evidence that that had been apportioned out to them and taken care of. So, again, we would like you to double check, verify. If it was, we couldn't find the evidence that it was. So, it's just something that, to make sure that we look into and resolve before the next one. Recommendation-wise, our recommendation is, of course, that the county establish an account for the emergency management fund activity in emergency management fund, which you've stated you're already working on. We recommend the county auditor prepare, publish the county annual report in accordance with the time frame established. We recommend the county properly apportion the 2016, 17, and 18 refuge revenue sharing remittances to the tax entities, and use the correct acres. We recommend they distribute the fire insurance premium receipts. We recommend the county auditor reconcile tax account record to the tax account list, or to the tax list, in accordance with SDCL 1017-9. Recommend the entire amount of the voucher be published. If the county has not received the Rural Fire Protection District annual report by that date, we recommend the county auditor request the financial reports. We recommend the county auditor apportion and distribute the rural gross receipts tax in accordance with statute.
Which has been done since 14, but
Okay.
I'll
That
have to look and see if
constitutes.
I can
Okay.
find that we fixed that.
Okay. That constitutes the written comments. Those will be in the final report when it comes out. You have the option to respond to those comments. It is your choice. If you want to put in a response, after each comment, you know, we basically have an area that says management response, which is blank right now. So if you want to respond to one, some, all, however, we would insert your response in it, and at that time we would issue the report. The report's done, it's ready, it's basically just waiting for your guys' decision when it comes to that. So that is something that will be basically, I would ask the board to consider and let me know, so that we can issue the report once you make your decision on that. Other than that, if you could just flip back to the management letter and go to page 2. On the bottom section of page 2, there were 3 other items that deal with internal controls that, based on our professional opinion, we didn't feel were necessary to put as a formal written audit comment. However, we felt it was important enough that you guys should know. We wanted to bring this to your attention so that you know. And so the first item deals with payroll testing. We revealed several instances where the timesheets were not being signed by the employee. We also found one instance where the employee's pay was listed in the January meeting, January 16 minutes at 10:74, but the employee was actually paid 10:50. We were told the minutes were in error, however, we never saw any correction in subsequent minutes. Our recommendation, of course, is that employees should sign their time sheet, and they should be put on notice that they're affirming that the time that's on that sheet is correct. It's always better if you have somebody sign something and they're basically attesting that it's accurate and that's correct. It makes people think. It's just a good thing to do from that standpoint. So you should have your employees verifying what's on their timesheet. They're saying that's the hours they work. Something that, emphasize to your departments and to your employees is that, the timesheet is, you're expecting to come in accurate and you're signing your name saying it is. So something to keep in mind. If, in the case of the salary amount or the difference in pay rate, anytime that you make a change after you do your annual publication, make sure you put it in your minutes. That again is how it's tracked from the standpoint of a lot of the things with publication deal with keeping your public informed. And the old premise was that technically I could read the minutes that come out and never go to a meeting, but I would know everything that's going on with the county budget. I would know what bills they're paying. I know what they're paying their employees by just simply reading the minutes. So that's why some of those laws are in there, is to make sure that those things hit the minutes so the public can. The next item we had on the bottom of page 2 there, Fire Protection Fund had the negative cash balance, which we noted on the other. Again, monitor your cash balances. If there's a reason they went negative and you know it, that's okay. If it's a short-term, temporary type thing. Maybe you had to pay a bill and the state's gonna reimburse you and you're gonna get the check next month. With the state, we hope. So from that standpoint, you might have instances that comes up, but anytime you see a negative cash balance in a county fund, that should cause you guys concern, because that should not happen. So make sure that that is part of what you consider as you go forward. If you see funds going negative, why? There's got to be a reason for this should be. So just something to keep in mind. Item 3 is kind of we had the Mobridge Pollock School District did not request a $350,000 opt-out for the 2016 payable 17 taxes. However, of that amount, the county incorrectly levied $269,000 against the Walworth County taxpayer. Now this was determined, and Walworth County collected approximately $85,000 before that was caught, corrected, and taken care of. Now, you did reimburse those taxpayers. You went through a process of basically reissuing tax receipts. Based on the Department of Revenue, the South Dakota Department of Revenue's guidance, they don't feel that that is statutorily correct. It corrected your situation. You did what was necessary. But really from the standpoint, you kept the taxpayer whole. However, they felt that the abatement process should have been used. You were not the only county, I don't believe.
There were 5.
So, again, just putting it on notice. We hope it never happens again. I'm sure all of you hope it never happens again too. But, from that standpoint, they are the ones that basically need to kind of give us the guidance and look for that. They felt the abatement process should have been used, but.
We'd still be doing abatements if we would have done it that way. That would have been like 5,000 tax bills that we would have had to individually do abatements on. That's why the other counties that had the issue didn't do that either.
And I have been through this on a couple of different times when we've been called in. I've gone in to review these situations, and it is difficult because the statutes have been there a long time, you know, and they were written a long time ago, and sometimes the process was different back then. Because in essence, in the old days, to redo what you did would have been a tremendously long process. To have to redo every one of those things. Today's the age with the computers, just simply fix it, correct it, they're done. So, you know, differences between them, but again, that is the premise that they hold, so that is why the county is so.
But she couldn't provide a law stating such.
And that's certainly something that the, you know, the legislature, you know, and your organizations, they can discuss and consider. We simply have to take what's there.
Right.
If you flip to page 3, I had one other area of non-compliance that isn't in the audit report, but I want to bring your attention. We had just a couple of small places where your expenditures exceeded your appropriations. Your general fund in the county jail was like $257 over. Your dare fund was $376 over. Again, just keep that in mind, you know, monitor that, try to take care of that. The other item we noted was that in 2016, contingency budget transfers were done, but they weren't done until January 17th of 2017. And budgetary law, basically, once you hit December 31st, there's only one way that you can extend it. And I don't know of any counties in the state that use it, and that's an incumbents process. From this standpoint, once you hit December 31st, that year's budget's done. So doing things after the fact really doesn't change anything from that standpoint. If you're gonna do this, it should be done before December 31st to effect it. Certainly it can be done well in advance. I mean, if you know what's gonna happen, do it early in December. We did not, you know, necessarily change the effects because it wasn't real significant. However, it certainly could be from that standpoint. So it's certainly something to keep in mind, to try to make sure that all of those decisions, anything that, be it supplements to your budget, contingency transfers, cash transfers, all those things should be done before December 31st. Because once that year end hits, that's over. So, I want to, you know, certainly thank Walworth County. I want to thank your employees, your elected officials, for providing us, you know, the information and working with us during the audit. We certainly appreciate it. Again, we're here to try and help counties. I know it sometimes doesn't feel that way, but it is part of our process. What we do is to try and inform the public of things we see. We try to inform the counties of things they can correct, things they need to work on. Our goal is all the same, and that is to make things better for our taxpayers. And so certainly, any questions you've got, and whether it be what's here or any other issues, I'll certainly see if I can answer them for you. But otherwise, that concludes what I had for you today.
What were the two issues with the, or the issue with the jail and the dare fund?
Budget overdraft. They were like $267 over. That might have been 2 years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions?
Becky, do you wanna put any response in on any of this before the other one, so that our response, you know, like,
That's up to you guys. We responded 1 year for the audit. Other than that, we've never.
And like I say, if you choose not to, we would just simply insert that. Management chose not to respond. You know, That, the only thing would be is if you do intend on responding, you know, it would be nice if we could get to it fairly quickly. I mean, we'd like to get this released too, as I'm sure you guys would like to get it out too. So, you know, from that standpoint, we don't want to go on forever. But totally your guys' choice. We're gonna hold the report until you guys tell us what you want to do.
In your opinion though, if we would put in there, well, this is done, it's not gonna change the report any.
No, we don't go back and change, no.
So then, basically, there's no real reason to respond in the first place.
Sometimes what I'll see with counties is if they want to provide additional explanation, you know, where maybe our comment doesn't give all the nuances, and counties, you know, will say, well, but, you know, yes, it was, but we had these other things going on, you know, kind of. I've seen sometimes counties will do that, but in a lot of cases, it's fairly self-explanatory. And the recommendation is, we hope, is usually self-explanatory. And in most cases, as you pointed out, a lot of times you guys have already resolved a lot of these things. So, but again, your choice.
Mine is, don't make a recommendation and then let's get it done with.
You can just come to a consensus of whatever you want to do, and let the slave audit know right now today, if you're not going to do anything, then you can roll with it today, right?
You bet.
I would definitely make a determination
Is that
today.
what the commission feels we should do?
Just go with it.
Yep.
Okay.
There's your answer.
Yeah, I'll insert management chose not to respond on comments. I will, I'm waiting on two things I need to follow up on, one being the letter of rep, which we discussed the other day, if we can get that and get it signed. I do have these documents for you, one being an audit survey that you can return to the Auditor General, and the other being that data's acre, and then I'd like to have a just quick discussion with you. Other than that, it was a long trip up here, but I hope the weather, after listening to your road reports and everything else you guys had going on, improves just like everybody else. They mentioned the other day that, you know, all the various places in South Dakota that are at the wettest ever, the second wettest ever. It's been quite a year for everyone. So certainly, if there's any questions any of you ever have, feel free to contact our office, contact me. You know, we did hire a new auditor in the Aberdeen position that will be working on your audit in the future. A young lady by the name of Larissa Rudolph. Very, very capable person. And so that'll be coming up down the road in the future. And so I appreciate all of your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Russ, do you know if we're gonna be audited next year then? Because this one was so behind.
I was gonna put this up, yeah, because 2 years. Yeah, you would be 2020. I would guess late summer
Okay.
at best. You know, kind of depends on the schedule, but that's when I would think it would probably work out. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rule 25, discussion regarding the 2020 provisional budget.
I kinda went over that a little bit earlier, that I have to get it to the paper, we can still make changes, but in order to stay in compliance, we have to get it sent. Visited with Russ about it, and we agreed that would be the best thing to do. So I did, you know, put in some numbers for the highway department, because I did not have his numbers. But those have to be changed to what you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna need these.
So that's what went in the paper, will be advertised this week. Next week, it'll just be the resolution put in there. With the final adoption on September 24th. Which one are you looking at, the old one, or are you looking at the one that's in today's file?
Oh, maybe this is one I pulled out, sorry. I saw that laying there, sorry.
Ah, this one says 24. Okay.
Anybody see anything? Nobody sees anything, we'll just move on to number 26.
I'll make a motion to go to executive session for personnel matter.
We got a motion on the floor, I need a second. A second. Any more discussion?
Jamie, if you could.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. We go to 27 in old business. Yes, Becky.
Is everyone going to convention?
Good Lord willing.
No Kevin? We will remove your registration and get rid of your room.
Okay, I got one thing I think it should be under old business. I guess we've been doing, I would say, the very best to have papers laying over there for everybody. I guess if papers disappear over there when they should be left there, are copies. I guess if people want a copy of it, then they should go and ask for a copy of it and get it made. I mean, that's just the process that it is. But then papers are supposed to be left over there for people if they want to come in this office and look at them. That's what they're there for, all the papers that we have. So I feel that that's how it should be done. And the charge that it is, that was passed years ago, but we were charging for copies, so that's what it is, so. Any other new business, old business, I
I
mean?
got one.
Okay.
I think I was kind of misunderstood or didn't understand the deal with the rodeo association and the tipping fees. That agreement was not with the rodeo association, that was with a private corporation who used to be rodeo president, past president. I understood that as Pat was asking in lieu of or for the rodeo association.
It is, that's how I took it.
I think this is a bad precedent we just took, so I would move to rescind that motion.
We'll probably have
Yeah,
to put it
the
on the
agenda.
agenda
An old business,
for the next meeting.
we can't do an old business?
That's-
I would just probably instruct the landfill superintendent not to know, or to notify someone that this is still in a little dispute and then put it on the agenda for next.
Like I say, I was under the understanding that that was for the rodeo association.
Is that all right with you, Becky?
Yep.
And they do a lot for the county, but this is a private corporation.
It is private, but it's gonna pretty much end up for the rodeo association. Cause they're basically gonna get the grounds,
Not necessarily.
once it's cleaned up.
Are they gonna donate it then, or,
That's their intention.
you know, that's their intention, but everybody's got good intentions. I think this is a bad precedent to start setting.
Well, just bring it to the next meeting and then we'll
Make sure it's on
discuss
the
it again.
agenda,
So, yeah.
Any other old? Any new business?
Move for adjournment.
We got a motion on the floor, I need a second. Got a second, all in favor, say aye.